Oh, really? In Min Gran asked cautiously, finding it a bit hard to believe. The two of them had nearly gotten into a fight over this very issue before, leaving her caught awkwardly in the middle. And now they had both conceded? They were actually leaving the decision in her hands? Zhou Heng nodded and said, yeah, really? Just decide whatever you want. We're fine with anything. Tang Ji also nodded in agreement. This was quite a surprise to Yin Min Gran, but since they both said so, it was of course a good thing. At least they wouldn't argue over such a small matter. Following her own thoughts, Yin Min Gran arranged their events. Since it was a competition, they naturally had to be serious. Their class could securely hold the #1 spot in exams, so they definitely had to aim for first place in the sports meet too. First, Zhou Heng's shot put event was a definite. Yin Min Gran had absolute confidence in this, believing Zhou Heng could win. Then there was Tang Ji's long-distance run, which Yin Min Gran was also very confident about. After some discussion, she also signed Zhou Heng up for the 100-meter dash and Tang Ji for the 4x 100-meter relay. Although Zhou Heng and Tang Ji felt they could sign up for a few more events, as it was nothing to them, and they guaranteed they could win the championships, Yin Min Gran still rejected their proposal. She believed 2 events for each of them was enough, and it was also to give the other students in the class a chance. Otherwise, if other classes found out, there would surely be gossip, saying that besides Zhou Heng and Tang Ji, their class had no one else capable. So, are we decided on the events? Is that okay? Yin Min Gran asked for their opinions. Zhou Heng and Tang Ji had no objections, so they nodded and replied, it's okay. Okay, then next is the opening ceremony performance. I remember last year was the whole class doing exercises, right? Yin Min Gran recalled last year's sports meet. They were in their 2nd year of high school, and the performance had been decided by the head teacher. They had no right to choose. The whole class did a simple exercise routine, basically just muddling through it. The opening ceremony performance also had awards, but they certainly had nothing to do with their class. Since they were allowed to decide for themselves this year, a full class performance was definitely too late. Not to mention, they couldn't even decide on a performance type. Even if everyone agreed, there wouldn't be enough time for rehearsal. Their school days were tiring enough as it was. So it could only be a few people or a solo performance. It seemed Zhou Heng and Tang Ji had both mentioned wanting to perform something before. Yin Min Gran looked at the two of them, thought for a moment, and asked, it's really up to me to decide, right? You both agree? Zhou Heng and Tang Ji nodded without hesitation. Then, Yin Min Gran looked at Zhou Heng and asked, well, Zhou Heng, from the class's perspective, whose performance do you think is more suitable? Zhou Heng furrowed his brow slightly and thought seriously. After a few seconds, he raised his hand and pointed to Tang Ji beside him. Yin Min Gran nodded, then looked at Tang Ji and asked, and you, what do you think? Tang Ji, however, raised her hand and pointed to Zhou Heng. This result made Yin Min Gran give a wry smile. These two had argued so much before, but now they were being so modest, both thinking the other was better. If that was the case, why did they have to argue in the first place? And she was stuck in the middle, trying to persuade them. It made her feel so foolish at the time. How about this? You two play rock, paper, scissors. Whoever wins goes up. Is that okay? Yin Min Gran stepped back from between them, letting them decide for themselves. Otherwise, if she had to choose, she felt someone would surely be unwilling. I have no objection. I'm fine with whatever. The two were in complete agreement. Then, in front of Yin Min Gran, they had a completely non-competitive game of rock, paper, scissors. In the end, the one who won the duel was Tang Ji. All right, then it's decided that Tang Ji will perform. Yin Min Gran patted Tang Ji's shoulder, quickly making the decision, afraid of any further changes. Tang Ji suddenly thought of something, looked at Yin Min Gran, and gave a meaningful smile. We both have something to do. What about you? Aren't you going to do anything? Yin Min Gran pointed at herself, blinked, and asked, me? What can I do? I don't know how to do anything. Besides, if I sign up for any event, I definitely won't win. Tang Ji gently shook her head and said, I remember during the opening ceremony, don't they need a girl to lead the procession and hold the placard? Like what Tong Yining did last year. All right, that hasn't been. Wait, you don't mean you want me to do it? Of course, I think you're the only one suitable. What do you think? Tang Ji looked at Zhou Heng beside her, asking for his opinion. Zhou Heng also nodded and softly said, Yin Min Gran didn't expect Zhou Heng to agree too. She had only thought of roping Zhou Heng and Tang Ji in, but she never expected to be dragged into it herself. All right, I'll do it, okay. She knew very well she couldn't refuse. She had asked Zhou Heng and Tang Ji to do so much, It really wouldn't be right if she did nothing at all. Okay, good. Everything's decided now, right? Can we play games now? By noon, more than 3 hours had passed. The aroma of food was already wafting from the kitchen. Zhou Yalan brought the dishes to the dining table one by one, then shouted towards the room, "Everyone, come out and eat." The three of them came out of the room. Seeing the feast on the table, Min Gran exclaimed in amazement again. So many dishes, and they were all made by Tang Ji's mother alone in one morning. It was truly remarkable. "Auntie, you've worked so hard." Zhou Yalan smiled, her eyes crinkling, and pulled out a chair for Min Gran. "Not all. I'm happy you could come. This is nothing." Zhou Heng sat down and asked, "Auntie, what time does my uncle get off work?" "He won't be back until around 8 in the evening. I told him you were coming today, and he wanted to take the day off. He insisted on having you drink with him. Next time, I'll come again next time when my uncle is off." The group sat down, ready to eat. Just then, Mingran's phone received a message. She was a little puzzled. Who would be messaging her at this time? She had originally planned not to look at it during the meal, but she was afraid it might be from Zhou Heng's mother, Lu Wei, and she didn't want to miss it. So she quickly took out her phone and glanced at it. She hadn't expected the message to be from Tong Yining. Min Gran, for the sake of our 2 years of friendship, tell me the truth. What exactly is the relationship between you and Zhou Heng? I don't think I've ever done anything to wrong you, have I? Just tell me directly. What's wrong? Zhou Heng asked when he saw that Min Gran's expression was a little off. "Ah, it's nothing." Min Gran shook her head, not telling Zhou Heng about the message on her phone. She was afraid of affecting his mood. Min Gran thought about it. Even if she and Tong Yining had their differences in the end, Tong Yining had indeed never done anything to wrong her. Moreover, a large part of why she ultimately chose to break with Tong Yining was because of her own selfish motives. And that selfish motive was Zhou Heng. She had already fallen for Zhou Heng back then. Since it was the first time she had liked someone, she didn't know how she was supposed to react. But when Tong Yining had talked about framing Zhou Heng like that, her heart had instantly filled with dislike for Tong Yining. At the time, she had even wondered if she was a very fickle person, having been so close with Tong Yining before, only to have such negative feelings for her now. Therefore, Min Gran decided to answer Tong Yining's question as a way to make up for the decision she had once made out of selfishness. "It's not what you think. For certain reasons, I'm living at Zhou Heng's house. I'm his mother's goddaughter. Then do you like Zhou Heng?" Min Gran stared at the immediate reply from Tong Yining on her phone and fell into deep thought. She understood why Tong Yining was in such a hurry to ask this question. It was simply to probe her intentions. If she said she didn't like him, then Tong Yining wouldn't see her as an enemy and would overlook her, then redouble her efforts to pursue Zhou Heng. Because even if she admitted to living at Zhou Heng's house, Tong Yining didn't know that it was actually just the two of them in the house. She would probably assume Zhou Heng's parents were also there, so even if she lived there, Tong Yining would think they wouldn't do anything too out of line at home, since there were parents around. This wouldn't hinder her pursuit of Zhou Heng. If she knew that it was actually just herself and Zhou Heng living in the house, and that they even shared the same room and the same bed, who knows what she would think. After a moment of thought, Min Gran replied to Tong Yining, "I do." Ahem. Suddenly, a cough came from behind Min Gran, making her jump. She immediately turned her head to look at the person behind her. Tang Ji was standing there, bending over to look at her, and incidentally glanced at her phone. Min Gran awkwardly covered her phone and stammered, "What's wrong?" Tang Ji patted Min Gran's shoulder and said softly, "You can't skip a meal just because something's up. Let's eat first. You can deal with it later." At this moment, Zhou Yalan asked in a low voice, "What's the matter, little Min Gran? Is the food not to your liking? What do you want to eat? Tell Auntie. Auntie will go make it for you." No, Auntie, the food is delicious. It's just that something came up just now. It's okay, it's nothing important." Min Gran quickly put her phone on the table, picked up her bowl and chopsticks, and continued to eat. She had forgotten that she was still at the dinner table. She had intended to just glance at her phone and put it down, but she had gotten distracted and made a mistake. It was a good thing Tang Ji had reminded her, otherwise her mother would definitely have overthought it. The host had prepared a large table of food, and here she was, looking down at her phone. It was quite rude. Zhou Heng glanced at Min Gran from the side, a hint of doubt in his eyes, but he didn't say anything. After the meal, the three of them helped Zhou Yalan clear the table. They hadn't helped with the cooking because they knew they might just get in the way and be more of a hindrance than a help, but after eating, they definitely had to lend a hand with cleaning up. This was, after all, basic courtesy. After cleaning up, the three of them were planning to go back to the room to continue playing games, but Zhou Yalan came out of the kitchen, wiped her hands, and called to Zhou Heng. "Little Heng, come here. Annie wants to chat with you." "Okay, sure." Zhou Heng nodded and stayed in the living room with Zhou Yalan, while Yin Mingran and Tang Ji went back to the room. Zhou Yalan poured Zhou Heng a cup of tea. Zhou Heng quickly stood up to take it, saying, "Thank you, Annie." Sit. "Little Heng, Annie has something on her mind that she's been wanting to talk to you about, to ask for your advice." Zhou Yalan took Zhou Heng's arm, and they sat down on the sofa together. She sighed, her face full of worry. It really looked like something was troubling her. Zhou Heng nodded and said, "As long as I can help, I definitely will. It's like this, you see. It's the third year of high school now. Only 1 year until graduation. Your uncle and I have started thinking about which university to have Tang Ji apply to. I don't really have an opinion, but your uncle, he really wants Tang Ji to go to a 211 university. I haven't even memorized the name of that university yet. Your uncle has a friend who's a professor there. He thinks that if she goes to university out of town, it would be good to have someone looking out for her, especially with Tang Ji's personality. Don't you think so?" "Yes, I think that's great too. What's so troubling about that?" Zhou Heng was a bit puzzled, not understanding what he could possibly help with. Given Tang Ji's grades, applying to a 211 university would be no problem. As long as she studied hard, even a 985 university wouldn't be an issue. For others, it would certainly be a lot of pressure, but for Tang Ji, the pressure shouldn't be that great. It would just be a matter of playing fewer games. The key is, can you guess what Tang Ji said? "Oh, what did she say?" "She doesn't want to go." Zhou Yalan glanced towards Tang Ji's room, then lowered her voice and whispered in Zhou Heng's ear. She said, "Whichever university Zhou Heng goes to, she'll go to that one too." Zhou Heng's heart skipped a beat. His eyes widened in shock, filled with disbelief. He really couldn't believe it was true. He looked at Zhou Yalan, and she nodded in confirmation, her face also showing a look of helplessness. "Don't overthink it. This isn't your fault. She's just being willful. We all understand what she means. It's just that when she goes to university and gets to a new environment, you won't be there, so no one will talk to her, and she won't be able to make friends. It would be a miserable university experience." Although Zhou Yalan said so, Zhou Heng knew very well that Tang Ji just wanted to play games with him. Once she got to university, things would be easier for her, and for him too. They would definitely be able to play a ton of games together. Zhou Heng pointed towards the room and said, "Then why don't you try to persuade her, Annie? University is definitely different from high school. She'll meet all sorts of people, and there will surely be friends who get along with her. Look, isn't she friends with Yin Mingran now?" Zhou Yalan sighed again, shook her head, and said, "I've tried, but it's no use. You know, we've never forced Tang Ji to do anything since she was a child. Now, trying to force her to go to a certain university definitely won't work either." Zhou Heng now finally understood why his aunt was worried. If it were him, he would definitely be vexed to death too. If he could get into a good school, that would be one thing, but with his current grades, forget about 985 or 211, he couldn't even get into a second-tier university. Was Tang Ji supposed to go to a vocational college with him? His aunt and uncle would surely die of anger on the spot, the kind that couldn't be saved. Not to mention they wouldn't agree. He wouldn't agree either. Wouldn't that be a great sin, ruining someone's entire life? He didn't want to bear that blame. Zhou Heng nodded and said seriously, "I understand, Annie, I understand. How about this? I'll try to persuade her another day." Zhou Yalan's eyes lit up, and she raised her eyebrows, quickly saying, "Really? Little Heng, you're willing to persuade her? That's wonderful. That child has always listened to you more since she was little. If you're willing to persuade her, then Auntie will be sincerely grateful to you. It's nothing, it's what I should do. How are you going to persuade her? Every time we try to say something, she doesn't listen at all." Zhou Heng stroked his chin, thought for a moment, and said, "Even if I can't persuade her, I can think of other ways. I could try to persuade Yin Mingran. With her grades, it's no problem for her to apply to the same university as Tang Ji. Isn't her worry right now that she'll have no one to play with in university? If Yin Mingran is with her, there shouldn't be a problem, right?" Zhou Yalan heard this, gave Zhou Heng a thumbs up, and said, "Oh, little Heng is so resourceful. But would little Mingran be willing?" I'll try to persuade her. I asked her before if she had thought about which university to go to, and she didn't have a goal yet. I'll talk to her about it then." Zhou Heng wasn't sure if Yin Mingran would be willing to go to the same university as Tang Ji. If she also said she wanted to go to the same university as him, his head would explode. Two top-ranking high school students who could get into a double first-class university, ending up at the same university as him, a bottom-ranking student. He felt that the principal would probably suspect they had come to the wrong school and personally come out to welcome them, putting them on a pedestal and smiling even in his dreams. At that point, his sin would be immense, especially with Yin Mingran. Zhou Hong was certain that if he caused Yin Mingran not to go to a good university, he would definitely be killed by his own mother. He might even be banned from playing games and have his living expenses cut off from then on. Zhou Yalan nodded, a look of relief on her face, then spoke again. If you, little Hong, could go to that university with Tang Ji and little Mingran, that would be great. That would be the best outcome, wouldn't it? Auntie, you're overthinking it. I can't get in. With my grades, how could it be possible to get into that good of a university? Hey, why make such a conclusion so early? Tang Ji told me your improvement in this exam was huge, and you only studied hard for such a short time, which is enough to prove you're very smart. Anyway, there's still a year until the college entrance exams. There are plenty of opportunities to overtake on the bend during the holidays, right? If you study hard now, you can definitely do it. Zhou Yalan patted the back of Zhou Heng's hand, encouraging him, which made Zhou Heng feel a bit dazed. For a moment, he actually thought, was it really possible for him to get in? He had already found some footing in his studies, and it could be said that studying was no longer so painful for him now. Can I really do it? Of course you can. Doesn't such a big improvement prove it? Work hard. Strive to do better each time. Zhou Heng seemed to gain confidence in an instant. He sat up straight, nodded, and said seriously, I will. At this time in the room, Tang Ji wasn't in a hurry to play games. Instead, she was looking at Yin Mingran, who was sitting on the bed playing with her phone, seemingly lost in thought. Feeling Tang Ji's gaze, Yin Mingran looked up and asked with some surprise, what's wrong? I was saying, who were you chatting with during dinner? You even told him you like Zhou Heng. This, Yin Mingran stammered, fumbling for words for a long time without being able to say anything. She hadn't expected Tang Ji to have seen everything. But luckily, only Tang Ji saw it. She already knew she had feelings for Zhou Heng. If someone else had seen, especially Zhou Heng, she would have died of embarrassment. Was it Tong Yining? She still has the nerve to contact you? And it's about Zhou Heng. Yin Mingran nodded helplessly and said, she found out I'm living at Zhou Heng's house, and then she came to question me about our relationship. Then you should have just told her you're a couple. Make her give up. Anyway, if Zhou Heng knew it was to stop Tong Yining from pestering him, he would definitely agree. How can I do that? I can't tell that kind of lie. What if it gets found out? Then just make it real. Why don't you and Zhou Heng just get together for real? You like him anyway, don't you? As soon as Tang Ji's words fell, the room fell into silence. Yin Mingran lowered her head, lost in thought. After a moment, she finally stammered, but, Zhou Heng, you're afraid he doesn't like you? I think he most likely likes you too. Would you live under the same roof and sleep in the same bed with someone you don't like? Yin Mingran looked up and said firmly, I can't confess either. At least not now. Why? Because, Mom, she was so happy when she found out about Zhou Heng's great improvement in his studies. She really hopes Zhou Heng's studies get better and better. If I confess to him now and get together with him, it will definitely affect his studies. I can't do that. Although Yin Mingran spoke with determination, a trace of loneliness still flickered in her eyes, which Tang Ji saw clearly. Even if it means letting Zhou Heng be constantly pestered by Tong Yining, you don't care? You say you'll affect his studies, but first of all, that's not certain. Being together won't necessarily affect his studies. Secondly, if he's constantly pestered by Tong Yining, don't you think that's what's affecting his studies? Yin Mingran fell silent again. She knew that even if she didn't confess to Zhou Heng and didn't want to affect his studies, someone else would still affect him, and that person was Tong Yining. She was very conflicted about what to do. Seeing Yin Mingran's silence, Tang Ji stood up and said softly, All right, understand your thoughts. How about this? Since I'm Zhou Heng's deskmate, I'll find a way to help you find out what he's thinking. How about that? If he really isn't in the mood for a relationship right now, I'll tell you, and you can wait. If he is thinking about a relationship and likes you too, then I'll try my best to get him to confess to you. Is that okay? Tang Ji's words surprised Yin Mingran. Is that really okay? I can confess myself, but will it really not affect Zhou Heng's studies? Yin Mingran was tempted by Tang Ji's proposal, but she still had some worries. She didn't want to be the one who affected Zhou Heng. She didn't want to disappoint Zhou Heng's mother. All these things became her weaknesses, which was why she was so hesitant. I don't think it will. Being affected in your studies, doesn't that just mean you have poor self-control? Do you think Zhou Heng does? He can give up games to study hard every day. He can insist on cooking for himself every day without ever being lazy and buying food. He maintains his exercise and stays disciplined even while living alone. Isn't all this enough to prove his self-control is quite strong? That's true. Yin Mingran nodded, agreeing with Tang Ji's point. Indeed, she knew very well how strong Zhou Heng's self-control was. Few people could do these things. In comparison, it seemed only those with particularly poor self-control would have their studies affected. In that case, it was indeed unlikely to happen to Zhou Heng. So what do you say? If you agree, I'll help you. If you stick to your original idea, I don't mind either. Tang Ji spread her hands, smiled faintly, and asked for Yin Mingran's thoughts. Although she asked this way, from her expression, it seemed she already knew Yin Mingran's answer. Ho! Yin Mingran took a deep breath and then exhaled. In that single breath, it seemed she had already made her decision. Then, she looked up at Tang Ji, her eyes firm. I want to be with Zhou Heng. Please help me. I'll do anything. Hearing the affirmative answer, Tang Ji nodded in satisfaction, sat down, and said, You don't have to do anything. I just think you and Zhou Heng are a good match, at least much better than that Tong Yining person. Just as Tang Ji finished speaking, Yin Mingran suddenly moved. She opened her arms, hugged Tang Ji, and whispered a few words in her ear. Thank you. Tang Ji's eyes widened abruptly, her expression blank, her mind empty. After a few seconds of stunned silence, she finally spoke, stuttering, This is nothing. I just think it's fun. Yeah, just looking for some fun. Yin Mingran released her, looked in her eyes, her gaze soft, a faint smile in her eyes. Thank you for that, too. Tang Ji was suddenly taken aback, then turned her head away, using her hair to hide her face. What's wrong? Nothing. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran stayed until around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Finally, Zhou Heng used the excuse of going home to study and left. The two walked on the road home, not saying a word, as they were both lost in their own thoughts that concerned the other person. Yin Mingran would occasionally observe Zhou Heng's side profile, her mind thinking, if this really worked out, would she and Zhou Heng be in a relationship? Then, could she righteously ask Zhou Heng to hold her to sleep at night? Could she openly hold Zhou Heng's hand at school? Would Zhou Heng's attitude towards her change then? Would he talk more? Would he be even nicer to her? The thought of all this made Yin Mingran's heart race with excitement. She was even a little impatient. She had clearly said before that she didn't want to delay Zhou Heng's studies and couldn't confess to him. But now, after being persuaded by Tang Ji, she was truly looking forward to it. Hey, Yin Mingran. What's up? Called by Zhou Heng, Yin Mingran snapped back to reality and looked at him. You said before that you don't have a university you're aiming for, right? Do you want to go to the same university as Tang Ji? That university is pretty good, and you two can definitely get in. You'd have company too. Really? Okay. Then, what about you? Yin Mingran first agreed happily. Being at the same university as a good friend was, of course, a good thing. But in the next second, she thought of something more important. Would Zhou Heng go to that university? She had just been thinking about what it would be like if she got together with Zhou Heng, but they were in their 3rd year of high school now, the most crucial stage. Even if they were together, they couldn't slack off. They still had to focus on their studies. Right now, she just wanted a title, to have a relationship confirmed. Other than that, she wanted nothing else. She would live with Zhou Heng just as before until the end of the college entrance exams. After getting into university, that would be the time they could focus on their relationship. She was especially looking forward to that stage. But what if? What if Zhou Heng didn't go to the same university as her? This was something she would absolutely not allow to happen. She absolutely had to be at the same university as Zhou Heng. It didn't matter what university it was. She would even be willing not to go to university, find a job, and just take care of Zhou Heng's daily life. In short, she didn't want to be separated from Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng thought for a moment and asked in return, Do you think I can get into the same university as you and Tang Ji? Zhou Heng's words carried a sense of self-deprecation, making it hard to tell if he was genuinely asking or asking a rhetorical question. However, Yin Mingran still answered seriously. I think you can. Zhou Heng, you're very smart. As long as you're willing to study, you definitely can. Zhou Heng turned his head to look at Yin Mingran's serious and determined eyes, a little surprised. The corner of his eye lifted slightly, and he let out a soft laugh. All right, then I'll have to rely on you to teach me. Let's aim for me to get into the same university as you guys. Hearing this, Yin Mingran's face lit up with a smile, and she nodded vigorously. That evening at home, the two studied late into the night, seemingly having made getting into that university their ultimate goal. Under Yin Mingran's guidance, Zhou Heng truly gained confidence, feeling that he had a chance. as long as he seized every moment to catch up on what he had missed. On Monday, a school day, the students dragged themselves out of bed, carrying school bags that were almost as heavy as themselves, and trudged out of their homes towards school like zombies. When Tong Yining left home, she was listless. It wasn't just because she had been scolded by her parents for her poor exam results. There was something even more troubling on her mind. Her former best friend had now become her love rival. For the other person, falling for Zhou Heng was on easy mode from the start. Living with him, going to and from school together every day, the success rate was almost 100%. As for herself, she had rejected him for 2 years, earning herself a ticket to hell mode, with a success rate of almost 0. Now, Tong Yining's mindset had changed. From initially wanting to get close to Zhou Heng, it had now become wanting Yin Min Gran to stay away from Zhou Heng. Sai, is there any way to separate them? Sai, what's wrong with you? Were you moping about again? Because you didn't do well on the exam? Did your family give you a hard time? Tian Run patted Tong Yining's shoulder. Seeing her listless look, she thought she was just down about her bad test scores. But Tong Yining shook her head, extended her hand, and pointed to a corner of the classroom. Tian Run followed her gaze and saw Yin Min Gran sitting in front of Zhou Heng and Tang Ji. The three of them were eating and chatting, looking very harmonious. Yin Min Gran had a frequent smile on her face, seeming much happier than when she used to hang out with her. Tian Run instantly understood what was bothering Tong Yining, so she was jealous. Seeing her former best friend now, with other friends, and so happy. How was this not a form of NTR? Don't be sad. I didn't expect that Tang Ji to be so good at bewitching people, to have completely charmed Yin Min Gran. That's not it. The main reason Yin Min Gran went over there is because Zhou Heng is there. Tian Run looked at Tong Yining in surprise, not understanding what she meant. Did she mean that Yin Min Gran liked Zhou Heng? How did those two get involved? Well, I don't understand what's going on between them. I advise you to stay out of it. Get involved. Tong Yining looked towards the trio, her gaze dazed and lifeless, and muttered, I'd have to be able to get involved in the first place. Even now, the I do that Yin Min Gran had replied with yesterday was still echoing in her mind. She hadn't expected Yin Min Gran to be so frank, to be able to say she liked Zhou Heng so openly. Even she couldn't do that. It was as if that last fig leaf could no longer be torn away. Now, all she could do was watch as Yin Min Gran appeared frequently by Zhou Heng's side, their relationship growing closer and closer, far surpassing her own. There was no use in being anxious because there was nothing she could do. After school in the evening, Tong Yining personally saw Yin Min Gran and Zhou Heng leave together. The thought of the two of them going back to the same home made her heart feel as if it were being squeezed. She walked out of the school gate, her mind preoccupied with these thoughts. She was so distracted that she didn't even notice a person standing in front of her. Snap! The person in front of her snapped their fingers, instantly bringing her back to her senses. She looked up and looked at the person in surprise. Standing before her was a boy wearing glasses with a neat hairstyle, looking like the type who did well in school. The boy slowly opened his mouth and said softly, Classmate, I'd like to talk to you. Could you spare a moment? Liao Hao Miao from Class 1. The boy was a little surprised, raising an eyebrow. You know me? Duh, you're first in the grade. Who doesn't know you? Isn't your photo hanging in the hallway? Since that's the case, I'll save the introduction. Can I take up a little of your time to chat with you? Liao Hao Miao walked forward, getting closer to Tong Yining, which made her a bit nervous. What? What do you want to talk about? Liao Hao Miao put his hands in his pockets and said lightly, You're a good friend with Yin Min Gran, right? Could you do me a favor and ask her out for me? I want to confess to her. Tong Yining's eyes widened, truly stunned, her mouth agape. Huh? Wait, what are you suddenly saying? What's wrong? What I mean is, I like Yin Min Gran, and I want to confess to her. Can you help me out? I'll compensate you. Liao Hao Miao didn't know why Tong Yining was reacting so strongly, but his expression remained calm, as if he were talking about something completely trivial. Tong Yining calmed herself down and said, Your information is out of date. We're not friends anymore. Besides, I'd advise you not to waste your effort. She already likes someone from our class. Hearing this news, Liao Hao Miao didn't seem too surprised. He was silent for a moment, then continued, It's fine. As long as they're not together yet, I still have a chance. Sorry to bother you. After speaking, he turned to leave. Tong Yining's mouth twitched. She couldn't believe someone could be so optimistic. No, you don't have a chance. They're already living together. They live in the same house. Liao Hao Miao turned his head to look at Tong Yining, a look of confusion on his face. A moment later, his brow smoothed out, It's fine, I don't care. I don't have a virginity complex. What the hell? You're invincible, kid. That's not the problem. The point is, the rice is already cooked. Is there any need for you to get involved? Have they officially announced they're together? No. Then it's a relationship in substance, but not in name. Let me ask you, in this day and age, do you think what's more important is the substance or the name? At least in my eyes, they are equally important. A relationship in substance without a name is an affair. So of course it's necessary for me to get involved. Liao Hao spoke with such righteousness that Tong Yining was momentarily speechless, unable to refute him. Normally, most people would give up upon hearing that the person they like already has someone they like, right? Who would still be so optimistic after finding out the person is already living with someone else? To still want to do something, it was just insane. She never thought that the top student in the grade, a genius, would have such peculiar ideas. However, Tong Yining had a second thought. What if he could actually do it? After all, he was the top student in the entire grade. He must have plenty of admirers, right? No matter what, Zhou Heng's grades were his fatal flaw. No matter how much he improved, he could never catch up to Yimingran's level. With her being so good at her studies, she shouldn't be with a boyfriend who was so poor at his. Someone like Liao Hao would be a good match, wouldn't he? If Liao Hao succeeded, wouldn't that successfully separate Zhou Heng and Yimingran? Hey, wait a minute. Tong Yining quickly chased after him. She thought this idea that had just popped in her head might actually be feasible. How long had Yimingran and Zhou Heng known each other? Even if she liked him, it couldn't be that deep of a love. Since she could fall for Zhou Heng, it was normal for her to fall for someone else, right? Thinking this way, she felt that Liao Hao might actually have chance. Stopped by Tong Yining, Liao Hao turned his head to look at her and asked, "Is there something else? I think you have a good chance too. Let me help you. Do you have a plan?" Liao Hao furrowed his brow slightly and muttered, "A plan? What do you mean? Aren't you going to confess? You don't have any plan? What plan do I need?" True affection means confessing openly and honestly, expressing one's feelings. It's not that I must be with her. I just hope she knows that someone is attracted to her personality. That's enough. That's my confession. Dude, are you all right in the head? If you confess like that, you're guaranteed to fail. Are you sure you don't want to plan it out? First, build up your presence in her mind, then increase her favorability, and then confess. But Tong Yining's well-intentioned advice didn't seem to win Liao Hao's approval. He shook his head and said, "Liking her is my business. If she doesn't like me, that's her business. She isn't a choice I made after weighing the pros and cons, but a firm decision I made after my heart skipped a beat, knowing it was impossible. Confessing directly is my greatest sincerity." After saying this, Liao Hao turned and left resolutely. From his back, one could see how determined he was, as if nothing could change his mind. Tong Yining was completely dumbfounded, frozen on the spot, as if she had just heard some incredible statement, even starting to wonder if she was in a dream. Was any of this real? What a strange encounter on a late night. Tong Yining didn't pay much mind to this person. She had originally thought he might be useful for something, but it seemed he was just there for comic relief. By the time she went to school the next day, she had already forgotten about it. Zhou Heng arrived at school early and sat at his desk. Ever since he had made up his mind to get into a good university, his head was filled with nothing but studying. As for the purpose, it was definitely for better gaming. Studying for the sake of gaming, he felt, was very reasonable. During morning self-study, Zhou Heng was engrossed in his problems. Tang Ji spoke up from the side. "What do you and Yimingran do at night? Does she only teach you how to study?" Zhou Heng looked up, glanced at Tang Ji with confusion, then nodded and said, "Yeah, we work out occasionally, maybe once every 2 or 3 days. The rest of the time, it's almost all studying." Zhou Heng thought back to last night. They had also studied late into the night. He felt that his pace of catching up was already very fast. If he were to take another test right now, his ranking would definitely rise quite a bit more. After all, with a top student like Yimingran as his teacher, and her being very good at teaching, it was only natural that his learning would be twice as effective. "You're really boring. You have a pretty girl living in your house, and you're really not moved at all." Tang Ji's words made Zhou Heng stop his pen. He looked up towards Yimingran. He knew that Yimingran was indeed very pretty, maybe not known throughout the school, but definitely the class beauty. Especially with such a good personality and temper, almost half the boys in the class liked her, they just didn't dare to say it. Because of Liu Yunshua's presence before, he had been the first to step up, making others retreat. His contribution was blocking numerous pursuers for Yimingran. Zhou Heng looked away, glanced at Tang Ji, and said, "What else do you want me to do? Take advantage of her? She's a guest. I don't want to turn a good deed into being a hooligan." How do you know she's not willing? Is it still called being a hooligan if both parties are willing? Zhou Heng's brows knitted tightly. He slowly put down the pen in his hand, his gaze deep as he looked at Tang Ji. What do you mean? You're not going to ask me next if I like Yin Minggran, are you? See, aren't you smart? Because yesterday, you two seemed to be talking a lot about relationship topics. I was wondering at the time why you two would be interested in that kind of topic. So you were digging a pit for me. Tang Ji shrugged, a sly smile on her lips, and continued to ask, so what's your answer? This sentence seemed to freeze Zhou Heng in place. He fell completely silent, not saying a word, his pupils trembling slightly from time to time, as if he were thinking seriously. After a long while, Zhou Heng took a deep breath and said, my feelings for her are more of sympathy. Her experiences, her situation, all make me sympathize. If I could do a little more for her, that would of course be for the best. Zhou Heng looked at Yin Minggran's back. In his mind, the scene of him bringing Yin Minggran home that day appeared, along with every day and every event that followed. He remembered everything clearly. The clearest memory was probably the night a few days ago, the day his mother adopted Yin Minggran as her goddaughter. It let him see just how much Yin Minggran lacked a sense of security, how much she longed to feel the warmth of family again. He made a bold decision. He pretended to be asleep that night, then turned over and gently hugged her. He felt that Yin Minggran needed this. At least it could let her feel that someone was with her, that she didn't need to worry about being alone again. Tang Ji tilted her head, a look of surprise in her eyes as she looked at Zhou Heng. Like or don't like, pick one. Can't you choose? She didn't understand what Zhou Heng's words had to do with her question. She asked if he liked Yin Minggran, and he told her it was sympathy? Zhou Heng suddenly looked at Tang Ji, his brows furrowed, his gaze somewhat deep and intense. Do you know why I pursued Tang Yining for 2 years? Why? It's because I had no idea what liking someone was, what it felt like to like someone. I couldn't grasp that aspect. It was my blind spot, and it limited my imagination. I couldn't imagine what would happen if I actually succeeded. It's like a poor person imagining an emperor. At most they'd think of him using a golden hoe to till the fields. And me, I probably just thought that if I got together with Tang Yining, I could take her to play games. Play games. Tang Ji blinked, a look of bewilderment on her face. She imagined that couples had many things to do together, being sweet and intimate every day. But in Zhou Heng's mind, how could it be about playing games together with the other person? Were there no other thoughts besides that? So, you still don't understand now. Zhou Heng shook his head and replied, I don't. If I say I want to take Yin Minggran to play games, does that mean I like her? What kind of feeling proves that I like her? I don't even know that. So how can I tell you whether I like Yin Minggran or not? Tang Ji leaned back in her chair, crossed her legs, and covered her mouth with her hand, her brows knitted into a tight knot, as if pondering a complex problem. After a while, she looked at Zhou Heng, took a sharp breath, and said, well, if we go by what you're saying, then you actually never liked Tang Yining at all from the very beginning. Is that so? Perhaps. After hearing this, Zhou Heng's reaction was very calm, as if this outcome was not surprising to him at all. However, for Tang Ji, it was quite a shock. Tang Ji had thought that Zhou Heng was head over heels for Tang Yining, but in reality, he himself didn't even understand what it meant to like someone or whether he truly liked her, and he just pursued her for 2 years? No wonder he could give up so easily, without any hesitation. Logically, to be able to give up so decisively, one would have to have been reborn, right? But the result was that he didn't even like Tang Yining in the first place. Those 2 years were merely his way of probing the concept of affection. Liking someone isn't that complicated, is it? It's just a feeling of wanting to be with that person. You don't have to overthink it. That's a stupid question. Of course I'd be willing. She's good at her studies and good looking. How could I not be willing? But there are so many smart and pretty girls in the world. Can I possibly like every single one of them? If I don't like Yin Minggran, wouldn't we just break up sooner or later if we got together? Isn't that hurting her a second time? TSK. This is hitting my knowledge blind spot too. I can answer anything for you, but when it comes to feelings, I really don't understand. Tang Ji covered her forehead in frustration. She had originally planned to sound out Zhou Heng's feelings according to plan, and while she was at it, set him and Yin Minggran up together. But now, she realized she was probably not cut out for this. She herself didn't know anything, so how could she set others up? She had thought it would be easy to solve. After all, if he didn't like her, how could he sleep in the same bed with her? But on second thought, they were already in the same bed, and nothing had happened. So did he like her or not? To be so indifferent with someone you like right beside you, that can't be right, can it? I don't understand either. Aren't I slowly trying to figure it out? Zhou Heng sighed, looked up, and saw Mingran secretly watching him. After their eyes met, she gave a small smile and quickly turned her head away. Zhou Heng lowered his head, picked up his pen, ready to continue with his problems, but he stared at the workbook for dozens of seconds without writing a single word. At noon, when Mingran came to find them for lunch, Zhou Heng was even more silent, focusing on his food without even looking up. Mingran lowered her voice and whispered in Tang Ji's ear, "What's wrong?" Tang Ji just shook her head, not answering her question. Mingran was also completely baffled, finishing her lunch in this strange atmosphere. After lunch, Tang Ji and Mingran were planning to go to the restroom together. Walking down the hallway, Mingran checked her surroundings to make sure it was safe, then asked in a low voice, "How did it go? Did you help me sound out Zhou Heng's intentions?" Tang Ji awkwardly rubbed her nose and replied, "Well, the situation might be a bit unexpected." "Unexpected? What do you mean?" "It's just, Zhou Heng's thoughts are a bit unclear right now, but I've at least figured out one thing. Zhou Heng never liked Tang Yining from the start. His pursuit of Tang Yining seems to have been just to figure out if he actually liked her or not." Mingran was stunned into silence. Wasn't she supposed to be finding out about her own situation? How did it get sidetracked to Tang Yining? So, does he like me or not? If I confess to him, will I succeed? You should be able to succeed, but whether he actually likes you or not, that's uncertain. Mingran was getting more and more confused. If she was likely to succeed, then why was it uncertain if he liked her? Could he accept her confession, even if he didn't like her? Just as Mingran was about to ask more, a person appeared in front of them, blocking their path. The two stopped, looking at the person in front of them, who was clearly blocking them on purpose. Mingran, can I trouble you for a moment? You're Liao Hao from Class 1, right? Mingran recognized the person in front of her. After all, he was a big celebrity in the entire grade. His photo was often hung in the hallway, so it was hard not to see it. Everyone knew the person who was first in the grade, while she, third in the grade, was not known by many. So Mingran was puzzled as to why he knew her and what he wanted with her. Seeing that Mingran knew him, Liao Hao's lips curved into a smile. He nodded and said, yes. I have something I want to tell you. Is that okay?" Mingran nodded and said, go ahead." Tang Ji at the side frowned slightly. She felt that something was not quite right, a sense of foreboding. Liao Hao straightened his collar and began, "It's like this. We were in the same exam hall for the last monthly test. I don't know if you remember, but I was sitting next to you. Even though we didn't know each other at all, when our eyes accidentally met, you still gave a polite smile. Your every move captivated me. And then, I fell for you." Liao Hao's words instantly silenced the scene, especially since this hallway wasn't empty. Students passing by also heard his words. Mingran was now completely stunned, her eyes filled with disbelief. Tang Ji's mouth twitched, her eyebrows jumping uncontrollably, unable to speak. It was the first time she had encountered such a thing. Just going to the restroom after lunch, and they could run into someone confessing. It was as if this person had just been sitting in the classroom, saw Mingran pass by the window, immediately dropped what he was doing, ran over, and confessed. It was so sudden and casual that it was hard to believe it was real. Liao Hao took a step forward, which scared Mingran into immediately taking a step back. Then, he continued, "I heard that you have someone you like now, but I still hope you can give me a chance. I will do my best to give you anything you want. Whatever type you like, I will work towards it. Whatever you don't like, I will also change." The passing students had now stopped in their tracks, standing by and watching the commotion, whispering among themselves. But Liao Hao seemed to completely ignore them, not caring at all about the stares and words of others. However, Liao Hao could ignore it, but Mingran couldn't. No. Her face was now as red as a chili pepper, her shoes shuffling on the floor. She desperately wanted to escape from here. She was completely trapped in an awkward situation, not even daring to look up, only able to stare at the ground. Tang Ji realized this and was about to step forward to speak for Mingran, but in the next second, a hand suddenly reached out. It grabbed Mingran's wrist and, without a word, pulled her away from this place of trouble. Caught off guard, Mingran was startled and quickly looked up. Upon seeing the person in front of her, a joyous light instantly flashed in her eyes. Zhou Heng. The crowd was stunned by this sudden turn of events, all craning their necks to look in the direction they left. Liao Hao did the same, gazing at that departing back, his heart unable to calm for a long time. Tang Ji, however, revealed a smile, her eyes full of gratification. "So, that's the person Mingran likes?" Liao Hao muttered softly, but his eyes narrowed, a faint coldness in their depths. The people present were all sympathizing with Liao Hao. A scene like this could be said to have put him in a very awkward position. But Liao Hao himself didn't seem to mind. He appeared unaffected, returning to his classroom with a blank expression, making one marvel at his strong mental fortitude. Zhou Heng glanced behind him. Seeing that no one was following, he let go of her hand. His heart, which had been somewhat restless just now, calmed down. He realized he seemed to have done something unexpected. He didn't know what had come over him. Just now, sitting in the classroom, he thought of Min Gran and Tang Ji leaving, and for some reason, he followed them out. He hadn't gone far before he saw Liao Hao stopping them. After hearing what Liao Hao said, he just felt a little annoyed, and without thinking, he pulled Min Gran away. Behind Zhou Heng, Min Gran said in a small voice, "Thank you. Otherwise, it would have been hard for me to get away." A faint smile was hidden at the corner of her mouth. The thought of the scene where Zhou Heng had just pulled her away made her heart leap with joy, as if a miniature version of herself inside was jumping up and down. Although she wasn't clear on Zhou Heng's thoughts since he had done this, it proved that he still cared about her, right? Zhou Heng didn't turn back, replying softly, "It's nothing. As long as I wasn't being nosy." After he said this, he felt it was a bit familiar. Thinking back, when he had taken Min Gran home, he seemed to have also said he was being nosy. But later events proved that he had probably been right to be nosy. The previous Min Gran had been so haggard, practically exuding an aura of sadness, with no spirit at all. But the current Min Gran seemed to have returned to her former self before the misfortune occurred. Being able to help her recover like this, Zhou Heng felt he had done a pretty good job. In the afternoon classroom, it became quite lively as soon as class was over. For some reason, intentionally or not, a lot of people always gathered around Min Gran. Some boys seemed to make a point of roughhousing in front of her. Whether they were trying to attract her attention, no one knew. Tang Ji patted Zhou Heng's shoulder and pointed towards Min Gran's side, saying, "Look." Zhou Heng looked up and saw a boy giving Min Gran something. Although Min Gran quickly refused and tried to hand it back, the boy left swiftly, not giving her a chance to refuse. She's popular, so what?" Zhou Heng nodded, looking completely unconcerned. Before, Lu Yunhua stood in front of Min Gran. Although he couldn't win her over, with him there, others didn't dare to pursue her. Now that Lu Yunhua is gone, the boys who like Min Gran can't sit still anymore. More people will be pursuing her. Zhou Heng looked up at Tang Ji, surprised, and asked, "And? You're not thinking of having me take over Lu Yunhua's position, are you?" "From the looks of it now, you're the most suitable." Zhou Heng shook his head and said, "On what ground should I block her pursuers? What right do I have? Look how much Lu Yunhua was disliked. You want me to be disliked too? Then you can just be her boyfriend, can't you? Then you'd have a right." Zhou Heng looked at Tang Ji with suspicion, his brows knitted as if they couldn't be unlocked. "Wait, are you really Tang Ji? You're not the type to be interested in this kind of thing, are you? Why have you been talking about this topic all day?" Even if he wanted to play dumb, to pretend he didn't know, Tang Ji was being too obvious. She usually never talked about such topics, but today it was as if she wouldn't rest until she had pushed him and Min Gran together. Tang Ji also realized she had gone too far. When bringing up such topics in front of Zhou Heng, she had to grasp the right measure. If she accidentally annoyed him, she would be out of options. All right, I won't say any more. Just keep it in mind." Tang Ji waved her hand, letting the matter drop, and didn't bring it up again. Zhou Heng snorted heavily through his nose, looking very helpless. But when he wanted to start studying again, his mind was in a mess, and he had completely lost the mood to study. "TSK, I'm going to take a nap." Zhou Heng directly tossed his pen aside and lay his head on the desk, preparing for a long overdue nap at school. Just as Zhou Heng lay down, Min Gran saw this scene. Her eyes widened abruptly, her pupils shaking. She quickly got up and walked towards Zhou Heng's seat. Just as she was about to get close, Tang Ji suddenly raised a hand to block her. She understood the gesture and stood in place, somewhat at a loss. Min Gran placed her hand on her own forehead, making a gesture as if testing her temperature. This was her way of asking Tang Ji if Zhou Heng was feeling unwell, because she hadn't seen Zhou Heng sleep at school for a long time. Whenever she looked at him, he was studying, but suddenly seeing him put his head down, Min Gran couldn't help but worry in her heart. Was Zhou Heng not feeling well? Tang Ji also understood what she meant. She shook her head, then tilted her chin up slightly and closed her eyes for a moment. Min Gran breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that Zhou Heng was just resting. Her heart had been pounding with worry just now. thinking that if Zhou Hong was unwell, she would immediately take him home. Min Gran composed her slightly ragged breathing and then walked back. A slight smile appeared on Tang Ji's lips. She turned her head to look at Zhou Hong, who was lying on his side on the desk, his face turned towards her. He hadn't closed his eyes at all. He had seen all of Tang Ji's gestures just now. Tang Ji seemed to know this too. When their eyes met, she gave a soft laugh and said nothing, but their gazes seemed to have exchanged a great deal. Zhou Hong then closed his eyes for a short nap. When school was out in the evening, Tang Ji quickly packed her things, stood up, and said, "There's a guild war tonight. I'm leaving first, not waiting for you guys." Go ahead." Zhou Hong nodded, watching Tang Ji leave in a hurry. Then he also packed his things, ready to leave the classroom. But when he reached the classroom door, he stopped. He turned back to look at Min Gran, who was still hastily packing her things. In the past, he would have just left on his own, never waiting for Min Gran. She would have to pack up and quickly chase after him. But today he stopped at the door, quietly waiting there. After packing her things, Min Gran quickly slung her bag over her shoulder and headed for the door. She knew that if she wasn't quick, she wouldn't be able to catch up with Zhou Hong. But just as she took a few steps and looked up, the moment she saw Zhou Hong standing at the door, she froze in place. She blinked a few times, her mouth slightly agape, a flash of surprise in her eyes. She hadn't expected Zhou Hong not to have left, but to be waiting here. Was he waiting for her? "Let's go," Zhou Hong said softly, then turned and walked out of the classroom. Min Gran was stunned for a few seconds before confirming that Zhou Hong was indeed waiting for her. The corners of her lips lifted slightly, and she broke into a charming smile, quickly following him. Catching up to Zhou Hong's side, Min Gran said in a small voice, "Thank you." "For what?" "For waiting for me." "Is that something worth thanking me for?" "It is." They talked in low voices. Zhou Hong felt a strange mood, a feeling he had never had before. Even though this wasn't the first time he had walked shoulder to shoulder with Min Gran, he always felt that this sensation was unfamiliar. The two walked on the road home. The night road was dark, but fortunately, the streetlights were bright, illuminating the path ahead. Zhou Hong seemed to have emptied his mind, just walking without thinking about anything. But Min Gran was different. Right now, it could be said that she had a lot on her mind. She was hesitating, she was conflicted. After hearing what Tang Ji said today, she had been thinking about it back in the classroom. Since Tang Ji said her confession would likely succeed, it meant that Zhou Hong wasn't against the idea of dating her, right? Plus, Zhou Hong had helped her out of that jam. She knew that it wasn't just her at that moment. Tang Ji was also present. So even if Zhou Hong hadn't appeared, Tang Ji could have protected her and allowed her to retreat safely. Zhou Hong's appearance had filled her with confidence. No matter the outcome, things were already like this. If she didn't confess now, what was she waiting for? Especially after school in the evening, Zhou Hong had deliberately waited for her, something that had never happened before. So now, should be the best time, right? "Zhou Hong," Min Gran suddenly called out, then took a step forward, turning to stand in front of Zhou Hong, her eyes fixed on him. Zhou Hong also snapped out of his daze, stopped in his tracks, and looked at Min Gran in front of him with a blank expression. Min Gran took a deep breath, then closed her eyes and exhaled. Looking at Zhou Hong, she slowly began, "I want to say, I." Snap. Just then, the sound of finger snap suddenly rang out, interrupting Min Gran's words. Both of them looked towards the source of the sound and found that, at some point, a person was standing under the streetlight. And they both knew that person. Zhou Hong immediately frowned. He recognized at a glance that it was Liao Hao, the one who had confessed to Min Gran at noon. What was he trying to do here? Did he want to confess to Min Gran again? Min Gran also took 2 steps back, hiding behind Zhou Hong. It was a good thing Zhou Hong was with her. If she had been walking this road alone and saw Liao Hao standing here, she would definitely have been scared. Liao Hao slowly walked over, his eyes fixed on Zhou Hong in front of him, not even glancing at Min Gran. "What do you want?" Zhou Hong asked, his tone not friendly, with even a hint of hostility. Liao Hao stood in front of Zhou Hong and said lightly, "I'm not here to cause trouble. Let's talk." "Talk? With me?" Zhou Hong pointed at himself, asking in disbelief. He had thought Liao Hao was here to find Min Gran. What did he have to talk to him about? Could it be that the incident at noon had made him see him as a love rival, which was why he wanted to talk to him? Min Gran, however, looked worried. She felt that he was here to cause trouble, so she reached out and gently tugged on Zhou Hong's sleeve. Zhou Hong shifted his position slightly, completely shielding Min Gran behind him. Liao Hao tilted his head slightly, let out a soft laugh, and said, With your build, are you afraid of me? How stupid would I have to be to come looking for trouble? I'm just a bookworm, but I think you need to talk to me right now. What do you mean? Zhou Heng sensed something was wrong, and his expression immediately darkened. He looked at Liao Hao in front of him. His purpose seemed not to be simple, not what he had thought. And he even said that he needed to talk to him now. What do you have to talk to him about? Are you going to talk or not? There's no harm in it for you. Just the two of us, a private chat. Liao Hao took 2 steps back and pushed up his glasses, as if ready to leave immediately if Zhou Heng refused. Although Zhou Heng found it strange, he felt that he probably had no malicious intent. Even if he did he have any reason to be afraid? If he wanted to talk, then let's talk. It was a good opportunity to put an end to his ideas, so he wouldn't pester Yin Gran anymore. All right, Zhou Heng lifted his chin and casually agreed. Then, he looked at Yin Gran behind him and said softly, "You go home first. I'll be back in a bit." As he spoke, he handed her the keys in his hand. Yin Gran took the keys, her face showing a worried expression. "Let's just ignore him. Let's just go. It's fine. It's a good chance to officially reject him for you, so he won't pester you again." Zhou Heng comforted her softly, then gestured for her to go first. Yin Gran was hesitant, but she still listened to Zhou Heng. Holding the keys, she left, looking back every few steps. After Yin Gran had left, Zhou Heng walked over and looked at Liao Hao, asking, "Go on. What do you want to talk about?" Liao Hao glanced behind him in the direction Yin Gran had left and slowly began. "Just now, Yin Gran was about to confess to you. I sensed it, and I deliberately interrupted her at that moment. Do you blame me?" "Oh." Zhou Heng showed a thoughtful expression, frowning slightly. Yin Gran was about to confess to him just now? He hadn't even realized it, but this guy had. Liao Hao put his hand in his pocket, as if to take something out, and continued, "Because I guessed that you would reject Yin Gran with a hesitant attitude. So I stepped out. I didn't want to see her sad." As he spoke, Liao Hao took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket, unopened. He opened it, took one out, and handed it to Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng waved his hand and said, "I don't smoke." "My apologies, I guess wrong. I thought you would. I don't smoke either. I bought them especially for you." Liao Hao put the cigarette back, then tossed the pack directly into a nearby trash can. Zhou Heng wasn't interested in this at all. He was still thinking about what Liao Hao had just said, wondering how he knew all this. He knew that Yin Gran was about to confess to him, and he had even guessed that he would refuse. Zhou Heng slowly let down his guard. He sensed that what Liao Hao wanted to talk about might not be that simple. "What exactly do you want to say? I just want to ask you, what is it that's making you hesitate? Is it because you're not sure if you actually like Yin Gran?" Liao Hao's words hit the nail on the head, making Zhou Heng feel a little scared. He barely knew this guy. They had never had any interaction before. But how could he voice his own thoughts in a single sentence? Zhou Heng steadied his mood and asked lightly, "What does that have to do with you?" "It has nothing to do with me. I'm just being nosy. I feel like you need someone to have a good talk with. Because I spent an entire afternoon asking about you, and I learned that you don't have many friends. In this situation, many of your inner thoughts can't be discussed with others. You must have many unanswered questions, so I came." Zhou Heng was at a loss for words, his tongue feeling as if it were tied in a knot. This guy was too eloquent. He didn't know how to refute him for a moment. After he finished speaking, there was even a moment when his heart felt that what he said was right. "Of course, I said I'm being nosy. If you don't like it, I'll apologize and leave immediately. It's just, I hope you remember one thing." "What?" Zhou Heng looked up, looking at Liao Hao with confusion. "Either accept her, or keep your distance. Otherwise, it's a torment for both of you." "Torment? What do you mean?" Liao Hao took off his glasses, took out a glasses cloth from his pocket, and said while wiping them, "If you don't like Yin Gran, you should keep your distance from her. Have you ever thought about what the girl you like in the future, or the girl who likes you, will think when they find out you're living with Yin Gran? By the same token, if you don't plan on being responsible for the rest of Yin Gran's life, don't add to her future husband's heartache. Although I don't care, there are many who do." Zhou Heng's eyes were bright, his brows slightly furrowed. Listening to Liao Hao's words, it was as if he had a sudden epiphany. He had been so focused on sympathizing with Yin Gran and helping her, but he had never thought about these things. You reject her on one hand, and you still live with her on the other. Even if you haven't done anything, living under the same roof, it's inevitable that ambiguous things will happen, right? To have the substance without the name is just hurting the heart of someone who likes you. To put it bluntly, even if Yin Gran is willing, as a man, can you do that? Liao Hao put on his glasses, stepped forward, and patted Zhou Heng's chest. His words were powerful and resonant, leaving Zhou Hong in silence, unable to say a word. His heart was also constantly questioning itself. Was what he was doing now really hurting Yin Mingran? But if he couldn't figure out whether he liked her or not, wouldn't that also hurt her in the end? Do you feel now that you need someone to talk to? Zhou Hong let out a sigh and asked cautiously, "What's in it for you?" "Nothing. Didn't I say? I just don't want to see Yin Mingran sad. My feelings for her have already stopped at this point. In the very end, I want to protect her smile. Is that wrong?" Zhou Hong turned around, looked at the streetlight in front of him, and stared at the light source until his eyes stung before looking away. He was silent for a long time, lost in thought. After about 2 or 3 minutes, he finally spoke. "How did you decide that you like Yin Mingran? And how do you know that you truly like her?" "There is no definition for liking someone, no standard. If you think you like someone, then you like them. But I still don't understand." Zhou Hong took 2 steps forward, staring at Liao Hao in front of him, and said with some agitation, "I once pursued a girl for 2 years, but it was only because no one paid attention to me in middle school, and she did. So I thought I liked her. I didn't even know what would happen if I actually succeeded in pursuing her. Could I take her to play games? Let her see the expensive skins and equipment I bought? Would she think I was amazing because of that and fall in love with me? Obviously not. So how would I maintain the relationship? How can I know if I like her or not?" Liao Hao reached out, pushed the agitated Zhou Hong away, pushed up his glasses, and said, "Let me tell you my thoughts. After all, I do have experience with relationships. I was in a relationship in middle school, and we were together for a year." Zhou Hong was taken aback, took a step back, and looked at Liao Hao with confusion. Middle school? What do they know back then? What kind of thoughts could they have? Liao Hao leaned against a nearby wall, looked up at the night sky, and began, "Back then, after getting together with her, I would be very happy just thinking about her. Even if the day was terrible, just thinking of her would make me feel full of energy. I would share everything interesting, happy, or unhappy with her. I would always be thinking about what she was doing. For no reason, I would just want to be close to her. My gaze would always linger on her. Just a little interaction from her would make me incredibly happy. My lips would curve up unconsciously." Zhou Hong also stood next to Liao Hao, leaning against the wall, listening quietly. Hearing these words, he felt as if his heart understood a little. But more than that, I was afraid of her showing any sign of impatience or annoyance with me, afraid of her deliberately avoiding me. I would be affected by her every move. I would feel some unknown jealousy because of some other guy. I would be afraid that she hated me or despised me. I wanted her to know what I was thinking, but I was also afraid it was just wishful thinking. All in all, liking someone is a really wonderful thing. You have a spiritual anchor, a ray of light, a direction. Moving towards her, at that moment, you really admit that you're a love-struck fool." A gentle smile played on Liao Hao's thin lips, and the corners of his eyes curved slightly. Zhou Hong found it strange and asked, "What happened later? Since you like her so much, why didn't you stay with her?" Liao Hao turned his head, looked at Zhou Hong, a nonchalant smile on his face. "Her mother found out. My grades in middle school were very poor. Her mother told her not to hang out with people with bad grades, and even came to my house, saying I was holding her daughter's studies back. Then they separated us." Zhou Hong was suddenly stunned, a flash of surprise in his eyes. Seeing Liao Hao say this so casually, and considering his current grades, it was hard to imagine how hard he must have worked since then. But no matter how hard he worked, he couldn't go back, could he? Zhou Hong reached out and patted Liao Hao's shoulder, comforting him. "If her family knew how good your grades are now, they would probably be very surprised. If she hadn't separated from me, I wouldn't have my current grades. It was all because I wasn't working hard enough back then." After speaking, Liao Hao looked at Zhou Hong and asked, "How about it? Was this helpful to you? Do you understand what your own liking feels like now?" "It's helpful. I've had some similar thoughts indeed." Zhou Hong calmed himself and carefully recalled his feelings when he was with Yin Mingran. He didn't know if this was what it felt like to like someone, but indeed, he had never felt this way when facing Tang Ji or Tong Yining. This feeling was exclusively for Yin Mingran. Liao Hao came up to Zhou Hong, patted his shoulder, and said, "I can sense it. You definitely like Yin Mingran. You just haven't realized it yourself, because you've never truly liked anyone before. Is that so?" "Yeah, if you don't believe me." After saying this, Liao Hao turned to leave. Before going, he added one more thing. "Remember what I said? Either accept it or keep your distance. It's better for both of you." With that, Liao Hao walked straight away. Zhou Hong watched his departing figure, lost in thought. He had to admit, this conversation was very significant for him. It helped him resolve many doubts and helped him somewhat confirm his own feelings. He just wasn't sure if this feeling was truly like. He knew Liao Hao was right. The reason he couldn't figure it out was because he had never truly liked anyone before. Even if he had a feeling of liking someone, he wouldn't pay attention to it. Zhou Heng stood there, thinking for a long time, before finally taking a step, preparing to go home. He didn't know how to face Mingran after returning home. Was she really about to confess just now? If so, would she still confess when he got back? As Zhou Heng turned the corner, he suddenly stopped in his tracks, stunned. He saw a familiar person sitting on those familiar steps. More than 10 days ago, on a rainy night, on those steps under the streetlight, he had met that girl crying so heartbrokenly. And today, the same night, the same place, the same person. Except, it wasn't raining today, and the girl wasn't crying. The past scene seemed to be right before his eyes, but at this moment, Mingran sat on those steps, holding her house keys, looking at the phone he had given her, a joyful smile on her face. Seeing this, Zhou Heng's eyes flickered, his lips slightly pursed, as if smiling. He knew that in all his life, helping Mingran was the most correct thing he had ever done. "Why didn't you go home?" Mingran heard his voice, quickly looked up, and upon seeing Zhou Heng, her smile became gentle and graceful. She quickly stood up and trotted over to Zhou Heng, saying, "Waiting for you. Are you okay?" "I'm fine. What could happen to me? Let's go home." Zhou Heng and Mingran continued walking home. Mingran asked curiously, "What did I want to talk to you about?" "Nothing much, just a casual chat." "Oh." Mingran didn't press further and walked beside Zhou Heng. They went home together. After getting home and entering the door, Zhou Heng sat down on a chair, seemingly resting, but his eyes kept darting towards Mingran. Phew. After a moment, he let out a breath, looked at Mingran, and asked, on the way back, what were you going to say?" Mingran looked up at Zhou Heng's face and was momentarily stunned. She hadn't expected Zhou Heng to remember. She originally thought he wouldn't care. She had wanted to confess at that moment, but she was interrupted, and after coming back, Zhou Heng seemed to be preoccupied with something. If Zhou Heng was thinking about something important, it wouldn't be good for her to disturb him, and confessing would be even less wise. So she hadn't brought it up again, planning to wait for a suitable opportunity. She hadn't expected Zhou Heng to ask about it proactively. Nothing, I just wanted to ask. What do you want for dinner? I'll go make it for you." Mingran stood up and walked toward the kitchen. She didn't know what was wrong with her. Zhou Heng had brought up the topic, creating opportunity for her, but now she was too embarrassed to say it, because she always felt that now wasn't a good time. If she said it, the effect probably wouldn't be very good. She wanted a particularly suitable opportunity, like on the way back just now, when it was very quiet, and the atmosphere between them was also very good. But just as she was about to reach the kitchen, passing by Zhou Heng, he suddenly reached out, grabbed Mingran's wrist, and stopped her. Mingran's eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't turn around or say anything, because her mind was completely blank, and her heart was in turmoil. Zhou Heng could feel Mingran's body trembling slightly. He asked softly, "What you wanted to say, it probably wasn't that, was it?" Though his voice was soft in Mingran's heart, it was like an explosion, making her heart race. No," she replied softly, her voice like a mosquito's buzz. If the room hadn't been so quiet, Zhou Heng wouldn't have heard it at all. "Then tell me, what did you really want to say?" Zhou Heng's deep voice made Mingran's face flush red instantly, and her ears turned red too. She was already hesitant to speak, and Zhou Heng's demeanor made it even harder for her to articulate. But since Zhou Heng had already asked, she couldn't lie again, could she? She couldn't do it, and she wouldn't. So what should she do now? Should she stall? Make an excuse to keep him in suspense and tell him another day? Just as Mingran was struggling internally, Zhou Heng slowly stood up, but his hand still held Mingran's wrist, not letting go. Mingran still didn't turn around, but she knew Zhou Heng had stood up, which made her a bit nervous, because she didn't know what Zhou Heng would do next. At this moment, Zhou Heng's lips parted slightly, and he asked softly, "Can't you say it? Or, you don't want to tell me?" Mingran's body trembled slightly. She heard not only doubt in Zhou Heng's tone, but also a hint of disappointment, and even Mingran heard a little bit of grievance. It was the first time she had heard Zhou Heng speak in such a tone. It struck her heart directly, as if touching the softest part of her soul. That was the fatal blow that broke through her psychological defenses. She no longer had the ability to resist. Phew. Mingran took a deep breath, suddenly turned around, her eyes extremely determined and very serious. "Zhou Heng, I know it's a bit presumptuous of me to say this, because everything I have now was given to me by you, Tangji, and Mom. But I've set my sights on you. I have nothing. I'm not good enough for you. But I still want to be brave this once. Zhou, I like you. Will you be my boyfriend? As soon as Min Gran finished speaking, the room fell into a deathly silence, so quiet that it felt like one could hear the echo of her voice. Zhou expression was particularly dazed. He had known beforehand, known that what Min Gran wanted to say was most likely a confession. However, when this genuine confession hit him, although he was mentally prepared, he still couldn't withstand it. It felt like it had struck his heart, or even his soul. His mind was now a complete blank, as if he had lost the ability to think, but his heart was constantly shouting, "Ah, is this what it feels like to be confessed to? Is this feeling real?" After Min Gran finished speaking, her determined eyes and serious expression seemed to fade rapidly, replaced by an undeniable blush on her face. She lowered her head, looking shy. On the surface, she seemed very embarrassed, but inwardly, she was happy. She had finally said what was on her mind. If it were the old her, she would never have been able to say it, right? Being able to say it now proved that she was already changing her previously weak personality. After a moment, Zhou spoke. Hearing his voice, Min Gran immediately looked up, her eyes filled with anticipation. She didn't know what the result of her confession would be, but even if it wasn't ideal, she wouldn't be disheartened or discouraged. Because from the very beginning, she had confessed with the thought that she might fail. She had a clear understanding of her current situation, living under someone else's roof, with nothing but her academic achievements. Moreover, she didn't think she had any qualities that could attract Zhou. Therefore, although she was hopeful, she was prepared for failure. She just hoped that after failing, her relationship with Zhou would remain the same and not worsen. You really like me? You're not joking, are you? Zhou blinked repeatedly, as if his eyes were dry, and he stammered, his words hesitant. It's true. I'm not joking. Min Gran replied without hesitation, finally convincing Zhou. However, he still couldn't understand. After all, he a figure often ridiculed in high school, a laughingstock for 2 years, with low presence and bottom-ranking grades, could be considered very poor. How could someone like him be liked by anyone? And the person who liked him was the class monitor, who ranked first in academics, was not only excellent in studies, but also well-liked by everyone, a person everyone in the class trusted deeply. Not to mention her looks. She was the object of pursuit for half the boys in the class, and there were many pursuers from other classes as well. It was hard to imagine that he could be liked by such a person. Was it just because he had helped her? Zhou released Min Gran's wrist and took a step back. His throat felt like a bone was stuck in it, unable to speak, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't find the right words, as nervous as if he were performing on stage for the first time. Seeing this, Min Gran narrowed her eyes, smiled faintly, and said softly, "It's okay, you don't have to answer me. I know you can't bear to reject me. I'll go make dinner for you. After dinner, we'll start studying. Just pretend what happened just now didn't happen. Don't let it affect your mood for studying." With that, Min Gran turned to go to the kitchen. No, wait a minute. Zhou seemed very anxious and quickly called out to Min Gran. Min Gran was startled, not knowing what was wrong with Zhou. She turned her head and looked at him blankly. Zhou was panting heavily, feeling as if his heart had risen to his throat. The next second, he swallowed, his Adam's apple bobbed, and he said, "It's just, I have no experience in relationships. Although, I know you don't either, but I want to say, if I do anything wrong or not well, please, you must point out clearly. I will definitely change. Otherwise, I might make you unhappy without even knowing." Min Gran was truly stunned, her eyes widening abruptly, her slightly thin lips trembling. She took a step forward, blinked her gentle, jade-like eyes, and asked in disbelief, Your meaning is—" Zhou nodded, took a deep breath, and slowly exhaled. "I want to be your boyfriend." After Zhou said this, time seemed to freeze. Min Gran stood there, stunned. The next second, her lips quivered, and tears welled up in her eyes. Zhou instantly panicked. Before he could say anything, shiny tear tracks had already streaked down her rosy cheeks. No, did I do something wrong? Don't cry. Zhou asked anxiously, his hands not knowing where to put themselves, his whole body seemingly unsure how to pose, his face filled with panic, his head looking left and right. He desperately wished for some magical tool nearby that could immediately stop Imingran's tears. Seeing this, Imingran momentarily recalled the first day she came to Zhou Heng's house. She had also cried in front of Zhou Heng then, but he hadn't reacted like this. She had even complained about him back then, saying he spoke harshly. Now, seeing Zhou Heng's reaction, Imingran couldn't help but chuckle through her tears, covering her mouth as she laughed softly. You didn't do anything wrong. I'm fine. These are tears of joy. You scare me. Zhou Heng instantly let out a sigh of relief, as if a huge weight had been lifted from his heart. He had thought that just after getting together with Imingran, he had accidentally made her cry. Next, Zhou Heng just stood there like a wooden block, because he didn't know what he should do now. He had a girlfriend? Just like that, he had a girlfriend? And it was Imingran. The Imingran, who was a goddess in the eyes of so many boys. This was countless times better than chasing Tong Yining for 2 years. He hadn't even gotten a bicycle, and now he got a sports car? And then, what should he do? Set off firecrackers to celebrate? Or should he call his mom to tell her? Or, at this moment, seeing Imingran wiping her tears, Zhou Heng finally realized what he should do. At least he should hand Imingran a tissue. What was he doing standing there like a zombie? Subsequently, Zhou Heng quickly brought a tissue and handed it to Imingran. Here, wipe them away, don't cry. Imingran took it, wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, and then showed a joyful smile. You must be hungry. I'll go make dinner. You rest for a bit. Zhou Heng was quick-witted, quickly stepped forward and stopped Imingran, saying, Nah, today I'll cook. You, go relax. Oh no, today I'll cook. You go rest. Zhou Heng quickly stepped forward, blocking Imingran. In the end, neither of them would budge, and they squeezed into the kitchen together, preparing to cook together. This was also the first time the two of them had been in the kitchen at the same time. Zhou Heng lowered his head to wash vegetables, feeling like he was washing them with extra care. Beside him, Imingran was chopping vegetables. She, who was usually skilled with a knife, was somehow cutting them too thick one moment and too thin the next. Moreover, a cherry-like blush would occasionally appear on her face, and her eyes would sneak a peek at Zhou Heng beside her every few seconds. Each time she peeked, the blush on her face would deepen. Zhou Heng sensed something was wrong, quickly put down the vegetables in his hand, and took the knife from Imingran's hand. Let me. It wouldn't be good if you cut your hand. Zhou Heng looked at Imingran's fair and slender fingers, thinking that if a scar was left on them, he would truly be a sinner. Then I'll wash the vegetables. Oh no, don't. Washing vegetables hurts your hands. I'll do it. Zhou Heng stopped Imingran, not letting her touch the vegetables. Hurts my hands. Imingran blinked in confusion, looking at the vegetables, not understanding why washing vegetables would hurt her hands. There was only a cucumber in there, and washing off the thorns might feel a bit prickly, but did that count as hurting her hands? Imingran felt Zhou Heng was exaggerating a bit, but she was still very happy inside, because she knew this was Zhou Heng worrying about her. But she had been in the kitchen so many times, there was no need to worry, right? Why was Zhou Heng so cautious now that they were together? It was as if he was treating her with extra care, afraid she might accidentally break. Imingran looked at Zhou Heng's serious profile, and for some reason, the corners of her mouth uncontrollably curved upwards. She had never seen Zhou Heng in this state before. The previous Zhou Heng always gave her the impression of being very mature and calm, very reliable. Being with Zhou Heng felt very safe. But she also really liked the current Zhou Heng. She found him particularly cute. Imingran reached out and poked Zhou Heng's cheek with her finger, saying softly, All right, then the kitchen is all yours. I'll go tidy up the house. Then, Imingran left the kitchen. Zhou Heng didn't look back, but the knife in his hand stopped. After a while, his ears seemed to turn a little red. Imingran tidied up the living room, bedroom, and bathroom. Because it was usually very clean, tidying up was effortless. After tidying, the whole house looked brand new. At this time, Zhou Heng had also finished cooking and brought the food to the table. Zhou Heng was about to call Imingran's name, but suddenly realized that with their current relationship, calling her full name might seem a bit distant. Dinner's ready. In the end, Zhou Heng could only say softly, without any form of address, because he really couldn't bring himself to use those less formal terms of endearment. Okay, coming. Imingran didn't mind, nodded, and happily came to the dining table. Zhou Heng served Imingran rice, got her a bowl and chopsticks, and even poured her a glass of warm water, which made Imingran feel a bit embarrassed. She hadn't expected their official relationship to have such a strong effect on Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng really hadn't been lying. He seemed genuinely afraid of doing something wrong. In Min Gran really wanted to tell Zhou Heng that he didn't need to be like this, and he didn't need to treat her this way. It would only make her feel embarrassed, and it wasn't quite like their usual way of interacting. You don't need to worry about anything. I will definitely not get angry with you, nor will I think that what you do is wrong. Even if we are together, we can actually be like before. In Min Gran said softly, every word reaching Zhou Heng's ears, making him a bit puzzled. What was wrong with him? Wasn't he acting like usual? What was he usually like? Although he didn't quite understand, he still obediently nodded and said, Okay. They started eating. Perhaps it was a psychological effect, but In Min Gran felt that today's food was exceptionally delicious. She already thought Zhou Heng's cooking was particularly good, but today she felt it was even better. After dinner, In Min Gran cleared the table as usual. Zhou Heng wasn't idle either, helping In Min Gran. In the past, he would have already gone to study without a care. He now felt that his past self was so selfish. Helping In Min Gran tidy up wouldn't have hurt, right? Why didn't he help? Was that little bit of time for studying really so crucial? A few more minutes wouldn't have earned him a few more points. Now Zhou Heng knew that his past self indeed had many shortcomings. Even so, In Min Gran had no complaints and actually liked him like this. After everything was tidied up, Zhou Heng sat down at his study desk, took out his books, and prepared to start studying. Although many things had happened today, it couldn't affect his study progress. At this moment, In Min Gran, holding her pajamas, stood beside Zhou Heng and asked softly, Do you want to shower first? No, you shower first. You first, I'll study for a bit. Okay, I'll be quick then. In Min Gran nodded and went into the bathroom. Soon, the sound of water came from the bathroom. Zhou Heng, who was still doing problems, started twirling his pen at some point and also began to jiggle his leg, his eyes occasionally glancing towards the bathroom. What's going on? Zhou Heng muttered to himself. He felt a bit restless inside, tiny beads of sweat forming on his forehead, his concentration extremely poor, feeling like his attention kept drifting towards the bathroom. It wasn't Imran's first time showering here, was it? She showered almost every day. But was he like this before? Clearly not. Before, he hadn't paid any attention over there at all. But today, why was it like this? Not only was his gaze drifting over there, but even in his mind, hazy images began to appear. Unconsciously, he stared at the bathroom door, as if he could see the faint, indistinct shadow projected on it, revealing a graceful figure. Smack! The next second, a slap landed hard on Zhou Heng's face. It was his own. Weakling. Can't even control this? Useless. He cursed himself under his breath, then forcibly shifted his attention back to his books, beginning a session of focused study. About half an hour later, In Min Gran, wearing pajamas, walked out of the bathroom. When she saw Zhou Heng sitting there, she noticed something was a bit off about him. What? What happened to your face? Bitten by a mosquito. A mosquito? A palm-sized mosquito? Hee. In Min Gran turned her head sideways and chuckled softly. Then she slowly walked over and sat down beside Zhou Heng. As soon as she sat down, Zhou Heng felt a faint, fresh scent enter his nostrils. He quickly lowered his head, staring at his book, trying not to let his thoughts wander. In Min Gran sat beside him, seemingly having noticed something. Her intuition was still very sharp. She could tell at a glance that Zhou Heng's state had changed. In the past, his face was expressionless, and he would concentrate fully when studying, as if nothing in the outside world could affect him. But today he had many small movements, his tongue occasionally pressed against his cheek, his eyes darted around, and there were beads of sweat on his temples. Imran's biggest worry had come true. She had confessed to Zhou Heng with a prerequisite. If this prerequisite was violated, she would rather never confess to Zhou Heng. She bit her lip, a hesitant look on her face. After a moment, she finally managed to say, Zhou Heng, if being with me will affect your studies, affect your normal life, then we should still. No, definitely not. Zhou Heng directly shook his head, not letting In Min Gran continue. He knew his current situation was unlike anything before. He found it very interesting. Both his mood and state filled him with a sense of novelty, as if many colors had been added to his monotonous world. Previously, only games could achieve this, but he hadn't expected the novelty In Min Gran brought him to far exceed that of games. Although these feelings were irresistible, they would absolutely not affect other things. He could even temporarily give up his favorite games so as not to affect his studies, so he could do the same for a relationship. In Mingran's thin lips curved slightly into a gentle smile. She placed her hand on the back of Zhou Heng's hand and said softly, I believe you. Then, Zhou briefly forgot about their relationship and, as usual, asked Min Gran to teach him problems. Both of them were very serious during the study process, seemingly wanting to prove that the change in their relationship couldn't affect anything. When it was late at night, Zhou knew he had studied enough, and it was time for him to shower and go to bed. He went in the bathroom to prepare for his shower. Min Gran went back to the bedroom first. She looked at the blanket in the middle of the bed, lost in thought. That was their partition, dividing the large bed into two sides, each sleeping on one. But now, their relationship no longer needed this, right? As boyfriend and girlfriend, if there was still a blanket between them, wouldn't that create distance? So after a brief thought, Min Gran removed the blanket in the middle. Looking at the large bed before her, a faint blush appeared on Min Gran's cheeks, because her heart even wanted to take away one of the pillows. That way, couldn't the two of them share a pillow? That would be truly sharing a bed in every sense, right? But thinking was one thing. She didn't plan to do that. She and Zhou had just gotten together. What if she did that and made Zhou unhappy? Min Gran lay on the bed. The bedroom and bathroom were separated by only a wall. From the head of the bed, she could also hear the sounds from the bathroom next door. Her mind couldn't help but start imagining Zhou physique. She could only imagine it before. That time Zhou worked out, she saw the specific look. Now that they were together, could she touch those muscles? She had wanted to touch them for a long time, but she had never dared. Now that she had a legitimate status, it wouldn't be too much to touch them, right? Gulp. As she thought, Min Gran's throat couldn't help but move, swallowing. Her face flushed red instantly, and she quickly pulled the blanket up to cover herself. Why am I having such wild thoughts? Min Gran rolled left and right on the large bed, eventually wrapping herself in the blanket. She quickly tried to clear her head a bit. If she continued to let her thoughts wander like this, she would definitely push her luck. Being able to be with Zhou was already more than she could ask for. How could she dare to make other requests? If her cockiness caused Zhou to dislike her, and they ended up breaking up, she would definitely regret it to the point of crying her eyes out. Right. Min Gran poked her little head out from under the blanket, suddenly remembering something. Shouldn't she tell Tang Ji this good news? She had helped a lot for her to be with Zhou. She should repay her. Min Gran took out her phone, opened the chat with Tang Ji, and typed a few words. Zhou and I are together. No. Min Gran deleted and retyped, and deleted. After thinking for a long time, she felt she couldn't express her feelings properly on the phone, so she finally decided to wait until school tomorrow and tell Tang Ji in person. That would be better. At this moment, Min Gran heard the sound of water in the bathroom stop, which meant Zhou had finished a shower. She immediately put down her phone, wanting to appear very natural. Should I lie down? Or sit up? Or pretend to be asleep? No, that's definitely not right. Oh, why am I so nervous? Min Gran hid her head under the blanket again, whispering with a red face. Why did she feel like it was the first time sleeping with Zhou? Except the first time, she only had worry and fear, while this time, it was completely shyness and a bit of anticipation. They slept together every night, but today their relationship was different. What would happen? What would Zhou do? Min Gran thought secretly in her heart. No matter what Zhou did, she wouldn't refuse. Click. After a moment, the bedroom door opened, and Zhou walked in. Zhou saw Min Gran lying on the bed and couldn't help but feel puzzled. Why was she covered with a blanket? Was it cold in the room? And Min Gran, under the blanket, was silently cursing herself for being a coward. She didn't know what expression or demeanor to face Zhou with, so she hid herself under the blanket. Zhou initially thought Min Gran was already asleep, but seeing the blanket still moving, he knew she wasn't. Then he also noticed that the blanket in the middle of the bed, which served as a partition, had been removed. This cup of warm water, I've put it here for you. And, are you sleepy now? Do you want some fruit? I'll go wash some for you. Zhou placed a cup of warm water on the table beside Min Gran and asked softly. Min Gran, under the blanket, was suddenly stunned. Then she closed her eyes tightly, bit her lip, the suppressed emotions in her heart almost bursting out. She was extremely puzzled now. Weren't they just together? Why was he being so good to her? This would make her feel like she couldn't bear it. Min Gran carefully poked her head out from under the blanket, revealing a pair of clear eyes. No, thank you, no trouble. She didn't even know how to answer Zhou. It turned out that when someone was too good to you, you really would be at a loss. Okay then, if you want anything, just tell me, I'll go get it for you. Zhou nodded. He stood by his side of the bed, a little hesitant as he prepared to get in. Fortunately, he quickly composed himself, slowly got into bed, and lay down. Now, without that blanket in the middle, Zhou Hong felt he would touch Yin Min Gran with just a lift of his hand. But if he stayed too far from Yin Min Gran, it wouldn't be good either, as if he disliked her. Too close, and he felt embarrassed. Yin Min Gran said softly, "You don't have to be so good to me. I want to know how to repay you." Zhou Hong raised an eyebrow, somewhat puzzled. After a few seconds he finally spoke. "I don't think this is called being good to you. Isn't this a small thing, not worth mentioning? Besides, isn't it right to be a little good to one's own girlfriend?" Exclamation point. Hearing the phrase, one's own girlfriend, Yin Min Gran couldn't hold back anymore. She quickly turned her back to Zhou Hong, her entire face flushing bright red. Hearing those words from Zhou Heng's mouth, how could she possibly resist? No, she had to counterattack. She had to do something, say something. She was the one who confessed first. Now that they were finally together, why was she being so shy? Yin Min Gran turned her body, raised her eyes, and looked at Zhou Hong. Her eyes were sparkling, like shining black jade. After a long silence, Yin Min Gran slowly spoke, her voice as gentle and elegant as clear, flowing water. "Darling, you're so good." This, Zhou Heng's eyes instantly widened, and he sucked in a sharp breath. His head uncontrollably jerked backward. Bang! The wall was right behind him. That loud noise was his head hitting the wall. Damn! Zhou Hong gritted his teeth, clutching his head. His reaction just now had been too extreme. That hit almost killed him with pain. Yin Min Gran was startled and quickly moved closer to Zhou Hong, pulling him into her embrace and reaching out to rub his head. I'm so sorry, so sorry. How is it? Does it hurt?" She gently rubbed his head, her eyes full of distress. She admitted there was a bit of mischief in her actions just now, but just a little bit. After all, it was to counter Zhou Hong. But she hadn't expected Zhou Heng's reaction to be so intense. If she had known, she wouldn't have played like that. Hitting his head must be so painful. The sound just now was so loud, it felt like it could have dented the wall. No. It doesn't hurt anymore." Zhou Hong pursed his lips, his eyes tightly closed, and said softly, because at this moment, his entire face was less than a finger's width away from Yin Min Gran's impressive bust. Any closer, he was about to bury his face in it. All he could smell was the oncoming fragrance. At this moment, how could he still feel pain? He only felt a rapid rush of blood. Definitely not to his head. Yin Min Gran rubbed Zhou Heng's head for a while longer before letting go. Looking at Zhou Heng's face, she asked, "How is it? Does it still hurt?" "No, I'm fine." Zhou Heng slowly opened his eyes. He hadn't dared to open them just now. If this had happened before, it would have hurt for at least half an hour, right? How come when Yin Min Gran rubbed it, it immediately didn't hurt much anymore? Did her hands have magic? Or did being in love have magic? Zhou Heng looked at Yin Min Gran and found her face full of guilt. It seemed she had taken all the blame for him hitting the wall onto herself. In reality, it was just his own carelessness. It had nothing to do with her at all. "I'm fine, it's not your fault, don't overthink it," Zhou Heng said softly. Then, he carefully raised his hand and gently grazed Yin Min Gran's cheek with his finger. The smooth and elastic skin even surprised Zhou Heng a little. If only he could give it a gentle pinch, how good would that be? He'd probably get addicted. Yin Min Gran finally showed a faint smile, nodded, and replied, After a while, Zhou Heng turned off the light. It was time for them to sleep. They lay in bed, covered with their respective blankets, but neither could close their eyes. Yin Min Gran repeatedly recalled what happened today, especially when she confessed to Zhou Heng. Every time she thought about it, her heart would race with excitement, repeatedly telling herself this wasn't a dream, this was real. She was really with Zhou Heng, and Zhou Heng was sorting out his feelings. He knew his current self was definitely strange, different from his old self. The reason was that he was now experiencing a relationship he had never had before, a romantic one. Everything was unknown, yet full of novelty, truly making him unable to stop. Did he really have such a good girlfriend? When he went to school tomorrow, could he openly admit his relationship with Yin Min Gran? He could already imagine the envious gazes people would cast his way. Although he never cared about others' doubtful looks, he really cared about others' envious and admiring looks, because it felt so good. Can I? Hearing Yin Min Gran's voice, Zhou Heng subconsciously responded, as if a second's delay would be a mistake. Yin Min Gran's voice was very soft and hesitant, but she still slowly said, Can I sleep holding you? This? Of course. Of course we can. Zhou Heng nodded and replied. Then, he turned on his side, facing Yin Min Gran. Yin Min Gran's hand also reached out, wrapping around Zhou Heng's waist. Her head unconsciously pressed down, resting on Zhou Heng's chest, as if she were hiding in Zhou Heng's embrace, which gave her a great sense of security. Zhou Heng also raised his hand and gently hugged Yimengran. The two of them, just like that night, embraced. Except, this time, Yimengran no longer worried about Zhou Heng finding out, no longer needed to painstakingly pretend to be asleep. She could do it openly. After a while, Yimengran opened her eyes and said softly, "Your heartbeat is so fast. Sorry, did I disturb your sleep? How can I make it stop? Oh no. How can I make it slow down? No." Yimengran reached out her other hand and gently placed it on Zhou Heng's heart, as if feeling the beat. "I like it very much." Neither Zhou Heng nor Yimengran knew when they fell asleep. When drowsiness overcame them, their eyes closed uncontrollably. The next morning, Zhou Heng was the first to open his eyes. He usually woke up earlier, then got up to make breakfast and lunch to take to school. Zhou Heng hummed. Just as he was about to move, he suddenly felt something was wrong. He couldn't seem to move. When he looked down, he found Yimengran nestled close in his arms, her breathing even, still asleep. Oh right. Zhou Heng remembered what happened yesterday. It was truly something he had never experienced in his life. Even now, it felt like a dream. Just then, Yimengran, feeling Zhou Heng's movement, also shifted, snuggling further into his embrace, as if trying to curl her entire body into his arms. Seeing her like this, and looking at her sleeping face, Zhou Heng's heart uncontrollably sped up again. No wonder Liao Hao had said he definitely liked Yimengran. He himself was more or less feeling it now, and could somewhat understand what it felt like to like someone. Although Zhou Heng should get up to cook now, but in this situation, if he got up, he would definitely wake Yimengran. Moreover, he couldn't bear to get up now. He wanted to savor the feeling of holding Yimengran in his arms a little longer. Zhou Heng just watched Yimengran sleep, as if he could never get enough of looking at her. He also wished time would stop like this, allowing him to enjoy such moments more. However, the reality was that time passed quickly. Soon, Yimengran's alarm clock rang. Yimengran slowly opened her hazy eyes, looked up, and saw Zhou Heng's nervous expression. His expression seemed to worry that, now that it was a new day, Yimengran wouldn't go back on what happened last night, because decisions made at night could be regretted the next morning. But evidently, Zhou Heng's worries were unnecessary. After Yimengran met Zhou Heng's gaze, she narrowed her eyes and gave a charming smile. "Good morning." Yimengran had just woken up, her voice a little hoarse, but to Zhou Heng's ears, it was an extremely alluring sound. He felt his whole body tingle. Good. Good morning. Did you sleep well?" Yimengran's smile blossomed, and she whispered in Zhou Heng's ear, "Super well." "That's good." Yimengran also reluctantly left Zhou Heng's embrace. They got out of bed together. Zhou Heng glanced at the time. Thankfully, there was enough time for him to make breakfast and lunch, just that it had to be simpler. Yimengran, of course, wouldn't stand by idly. After washing up, she went to the kitchen to help Zhou Heng. And Zhou Heng didn't refuse anymore. With the two of them working together, they could indeed save a lot of time. When making lunch, they each tacitly made the other's portion, resulting in both their lunches being better than the other. After everything was ready, they prepared to leave. They walked out of the house and took the elevator. In the elevator, Yimengran lowered her head and glanced at Zhou Heng's hand. The next second, she carefully reached out her hand and gently held half of Zhou Heng's palm. Zhou Heng's hand trembled slightly. He didn't react for a moment. When he looked at Yimengran, he found her looking down, saying nothing, but it seemed nothing needed to be said. Then, Zhou Heng directly held Yimengran's entire hand, without any concealment. Yimengran looked up, glanced at Zhou Heng's profile, and smiled, pursing her lips. They held hands and went to school together. When they reached the school gate, they separated their hands. After all, the school didn't allow students to date. If they were caught, they would probably be punished. After arriving in the classroom, they each returned to their own seats. After Zhou Heng sat down, he looked at Tang Ji beside him and said, "Let me tell you something." Before Zhou Heng could speak, Tang Ji guessed first. "You and Yimengran are together, huh?" How did you know? Did she tell you?" "No, I guessed. Both of you have that joy written all over your faces." Tang Ji chuckled, pointed at Zhou Heng's face, and said, "Really? Is it that obvious?" Zhou Heng frowned slightly, touching his cheek. Did he really look that happy? It's very obvious, especially Yimengran. It feels like if she were any happier, she'd be skipping into the classroom." Tang Ji pointed towards Yimengran, who seemed to be unconsciously swaying her head. From behind, Even her back exuded happiness. All right. Anyway, congratulations. You two are a good match. You should be able to stay together, right? But aren't you going to tell Auntie? I don't plan to for now. Zhou Heng shook his head. He had thought about this yesterday, but he felt it was better not to tell his mom for the time being. Although she would probably agree to them being together, she would definitely give some unsolicited advice, and he really didn't want to hear that right now. So he planned to wait a while, for example, until after the next exam. If he improved again, he could mention it then. Tang Ji nodded and said, I see. By the way, I'm going out with her this weekend. Do you want to come? What for? Shopping for clothes. Next week is the sports meet. How can we not buy her a few nice outfits? Makes sense. But Zhou Heng paused, glanced towards Min Gran, and said in a low voice, I want to go, but I don't know if I should. If I go, will she be willing? For shopping, isn't it better if you girls go alone? What's there to be unwilling about? Aren't you her boyfriend now? What's unwilling about bringing your boyfriend along? Don't worry, she's definitely dying for you to go with her. Is that so? Zhou Heng nodded in sudden realization. For these things, he felt it was safer to ask. After all, he had said it before, this was his first time in a relationship, and he might unknowingly make Min Gran unhappy, which was why he was so cautious. Students gradually entered the classroom. When Tang Yining walked into the classroom, she subconsciously looked in Zhou Heng's direction, only to find Zhou Heng's gaze seemingly on Min Gran. During class, Tang Yining kept observing Zhou Heng and Min Gran, noticing that both of them seemed a bit off today. It felt like their eyes met particularly often, and the way they looked at each other was also different from usual. Tang Yining even saw affection in Min Gran's eyes. In an instant, Tang Yining's heart skipped a beat. She thought of a possibility. Could it be that the two of them were officially together? Was it really that sudden? Just the weekend before, when she asked Min Gran, she had said they weren't in that kind of relationship. And what about Liao Hao? Where the hell did he go? Did his confession fail? Did he not obstruct them? Now, let's have a student answer. Let me see. The teacher on the podium scanned the students in the class. At times like this, students would lower their heads, try to avoid being seen by the teacher, though generally, this was useless. At this moment, Zhou Heng was still staring blankly at his desk, seemingly savoring the moments with Min Gran. The thought that they could snuggle and sleep together every night filled him with anticipation. Come, let's have Zhou Heng, the student who made the most progress in this month's exam, answer this question. The teacher's words jolted Zhou Heng out of his fantasy. He looked up at the teacher with a dazed expression. Ahem, Tang Ji, beside him, almost burst out laughing at this expression. At the same time, Min Gran and Tang Yining in front also turned their heads to look at Zhou Heng. Come on, Zhou Heng, stand up and answer. It's okay if you get it wrong, just try. Zhou Heng slowly stood up, staring at the question on the blackboard, as if in slow motion. At this moment, Min Gran in front had a very worried look in her eyes. She really wanted to help Zhou Heng, to secretly tell him the answer or something, but that was impossible. This wasn't an elementary school math problem where you could use your fingers to show the answer. Besides, their seats were quite far apart. He wouldn't hear her if she whispered. She had even pinned her hopes on Tang Ji, hoping Tang Ji could help Zhou Heng. Even though it was Zhou Heng who stood up to answer, it was Min Gran who was nervous and worried. After Zhou Heng saw the question clearly, he suddenly remembered that Min Gran seemed to have explained this problem to him. After thinking for a moment, Zhou Heng gave the answer. Some students instantly widened their eyes, looking at Zhou Heng in disbelief. It was clear they had never expected Zhou Heng to actually get it right. Correct answer. Let's give Zhou Heng a round of applause. The teacher nodded in satisfaction, signaling Zhou Heng to sit down. Zhou Heng slowly sat down amidst the applause of the whole class, which made him feel a little unconfident. In the past, whenever he stood up to answer a question, he definitely couldn't answer it. This was the first time he had answered correctly. Tang Ji whispered in Zhou Heng's ear. Min Gran has trained you well. Huh? You've really learned something? The word trained is used very inaccurately. Zhou Heng glanced at her and said faintly. After Zhou Heng sat down, Min Gran let out a sigh of relief. Although, even if he couldn't answer, the teacher wouldn't make things difficult for Zhou Heng. For some reason, as Zhou Heng's girlfriend, she just hoped Zhou Heng could answer perfectly. She didn't know where this feeling came from. All of Min Gran's actions were seen by one person, and that was Tang Yining. This worry, this happiness, she saw it all clearly. At this moment, a huge doubt arose in her heart. Did she actually like Zhou Heng? Looking at Min Gran's reaction, she could only sigh that Min Gran really liked Zhou Heng. Yet, in comparison, if it were her, she would never have these reactions. So how could she have a nerve to say she liked Zhou Hong? All right, class dismissed. After class, Tong Yining lowered her head, as if deep in thought. She now had to seriously examine herself, what she was thinking, what she wanted to do. If she couldn't figure these things out, she would only live in more confusion. After class, Zhou Hong prepared to go to the restroom. Although he also wanted to spend the break time with Yin Mingran, he hadn't yet figured out how he and Yin Mingran should interact at school. If they didn't manage the boundaries well, it definitely wouldn't work. After Yin Mingran saw Zhou Hong leave the classroom, she left her seat and quickly came to Zhou Heng's seat. Tang Ji, I want to tell you. I know. You and Zhou Hong are together, right? You've practically written the news on your face. Tang Ji reached out, poked Yin Mingran's nose, and said with a smile. This is all thanks to you. I don't even know how to repay you. I didn't help much. I'm actually curious how you two got together. Tell me about it. MHM. It was last night when we were walking home from school. Yin Mingran told Tang Ji what happened last night. Meanwhile, Zhou Hong, after arriving at the restroom, found someone standing there, as if waiting for someone. Seeing him, Zhou Heng walked over because he knew this person was waiting for him. This person was Liao Hao, who had helped him greatly. It could be said that if it weren't for him yesterday, he and Yin Mingran definitely wouldn't be together, at least not yet, because he would most likely have turned Yin Mingran down. I knew you'd come. Guessed again. Zhou Heng frowned, looking at Liao Hao before him. For some reason, he didn't dislike him as much as yesterday. Liao Hao's lips curved slightly upwards in a faint smile. Of course, it's just as I thought. You must have had a very pleasant evening yesterday, right? MHM. I have to admit, you really helped me a lot. Thanks. No need to thank me. I didn't make you do it. You made yourself do it. I just helped you realize it yourself. Liao Hao shook his head, then took something out of his pocket and handed it to Zhou Hong. Zhou Hong took it and saw it was a pair of bracelets, a couple's set. A congratulatory gift for you two. I wish you can be together forever. With that, Liao Hao brushed past Zhou Hong, preparing to leave. Just as he was about to leave, Zhou Hong called out to him, Hey, Liao Hao turned his head to look at him, a puzzled expression on his face. Zhou Heng put away the bracelet and slowly asked, Do people like you who are good at studying make friends with people who are not good at studying? Liao Hao paused for a moment, and after a few seconds, he immediately understood. He laughed a few times and asked, Not good at studying? Are you referring to yourself? Who else? Am I qualified to say others are bad at studying? Liao Hao turned around and slowly walked towards Zhou Heng, stopping in front of him. Are you sure you want to be friends with me? I used to like Yin Mingran, you know? You don't mind. Mind what? Am I supposed to worry you'll steal Yin Mingran away? Don't be ridiculous. Zhou Heng's casual and confident demeanor made Liao Hao pause slightly. Then he nodded and said, Is this the confidence of Victor? All right, in that case, I'll be your advisor. If you encounter anything you don't understand, feel free to ask me, including academics. Do I still need to ask you about academics? My girlfriend is no worse than you. Haha, true. My apologies. Well then, it's nice to meet you, Zhou Heng. Liao Hao grabbed Zhou Heng's hand, gave it a simple shake, patted his shoulder, and then turned to leave. Zhou Heng watched his departing figure, sighing inwardly. He was surrounded by top students. Each of them had their own characteristics, but the common point was that they were all very smart. When Zhou Heng returned to the classroom, he found Tang Ji looking at him strangely. So he asked in confusion, What's wrong? Is there something on my face? Tang Ji, with a meaningful smile, shook her head. Nothing. I just feel you've changed a lot. Have I? Zhou Heng asked back, but the next second, he thought that he indeed seemed to have changed a lot. It probably started from the day he met Yin Mingran. He felt the current changes were also quite good, at least making his life more interesting, unlike before when it was so boring. Of course you have. Just now, Yin Mingran told me what happened last night. After hearing it, I even doubted if that was really you. Zhou Heng glanced at Tang Ji and said, Haven't you noticed you've changed a lot too? You didn't used to talk this much. Have I? Tang Ji paused slightly, exchanged a look with Zhou Heng, and then both couldn't help but show a helpless smile. They both remembered what they were like before, not much daily interaction, maybe just a sentence or two. But now, with Yin Mingran's appearance, they had both slowly changed, talked more than before, and their relationship was closer. They couldn't deny that it was indeed Yin Mingran who had changed them. At noon, lunchtime, Yin Mingran, as if she had been looking forward to it for a long time, took her lunchbox and went to find Zhou Heng and Tang Ji as soon as class was over. The students at the desk in front of them seemed to have gotten used to it. As soon as they saw Yin Mingran coming, they proactively made space, either going to the cafeteria to eat or sitting at Yin Mingran's seat, being very considerate. As soon as Yin Mingran sat down, Tang Ji couldn't help but tease with a smile. What's the rush? Zhou Heng isn't going to run away. Yin Mingran's face flushed red upon hearing this. She did seem a bit overly eager. After all, throughout the whole school day, this was the only time she could be close to Zhou Heng. Seeing Yin Mingran didn't refute. Zhou Heng's eyes also flickered a bit, but in fact he was very happy inside. This feeling of being overly cared for was something he was experiencing for the first time. Yin Mingran and Zhou Heng opened their lunchboxes. Their lunch today was exceptionally sumptuous. Tang Ji leaned over to take a look and said, "You guys are eating really well today. It looks delicious." Yin Mingran immediately picked up a piece with her chopsticks, wanted to give it to Tang Ji to eat, but Tang Ji gave her a look, glancing towards Zhou Heng. Yin Mingran paused, then reacted. She hesitated for a moment and slowly moved the chopsticks in front of Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng blinked, momentarily at a loss. He looked at Yin Mingran opposite him. She had her head down, not daring to look Zhou Heng in the eyes, but he could see her ears were red. She must have been embarrassed to make such a gesture, especially in the classroom with so many classmates present. If they were seen, she would be even more embarrassed. Zhou Heng didn't want to make the scene awkward either, so he no longer hesitated, leaned forward, opened his mouth, and ate it. Then, he retaliated in the same way. When he picked up food with his chopsticks and fed it to Yin Mingran's mouth, Yin Mingran ate it almost without hesitation. Both of them looked into each other's eyes, as if communicating with their gazes. The atmosphere was also quite subtle, filled with an ambiguous air. Tang Ji looked at both their faces and suddenly blurted out, "Have you guys kissed?" Exclamation point. Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran both widened their eyes, looking at Tang Ji in disbelief. Tang Ji didn't need to wait for their answer, just nodded and muttered, "Right, you guys wouldn't progress that fast either." Zhou Heng turned to look at Yin Mingran, staring at her crimson lips, his throat unconsciously bobbing. He hadn't thought about this before. For someone like him with no relationship experience, he would always subconsciously think that these things progress step by step. They had already held hands, so their progress should be quite fast, right? As for kissing, was it too early? And Yin Mingran was thinking about what Tang Ji had once told her. The punishment set for her at that time was to kiss the back of Zhou Heng's hand, because it was said that if they weren't a couple, kissing Zhou Heng might make him angry. Now that they were a couple, could they kiss? If she took the initiative, would Zhou Heng be willing? After school in the evening, Tang Ji left first. She knew that after school was Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran's private time, and she didn't want to be a third wheel and disturb them. After Zhou Heng packed up, he sat in his seat, waiting for Yin Mingran. The thought that the two of them would soon be alone made him quite excited. He had never wanted to be alone with Yin Mingran so much before. After they got together, he really wanted to be with Yin Mingran every moment. This should be what it felt like to like someone. He somehow understood now. Yin Mingran saw Zhou Heng waiting for her, a faint smile involuntarily appearing on her lips. She quickened her packing. After packing, she eagerly walked over to Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng stood up, and they left the classroom and the school together. After walking out of the school gate, Yin Mingran took Zhou Heng's hand. Having held hands for the first time, the second time felt much more natural. Zhou Heng could feel Yin Mingran's hand was very warm, and the sensation of holding hands felt particularly comfortable. So he unconsciously tightened his grip on Yin Mingran's hand, holding it firmly, as if worried she would slip away. Tang Ji said you guys are going shopping together this weekend. Can I come along? Zhou Heng quietly asked the question he had been thinking about all day. Although Tang Ji said Yin Mingran would definitely want him to go, he felt it was better to ask. After Yin Mingran heard this, she remembered that there indeed seemed to be such a thing. It was when they went to Tang Ji's house last weekend. Tang Ji had mentioned it. At that time, it was decided that she would be the one holding the sign to lead the procession. Then Tang Ji said they would go buy clothes next weekend, as this role allowed for prettier attire. During last year's sports meet, the girls holding signs were all dressed very beautifully, and she didn't have many pretty clothes now, so she really needed to buy some. This was like the face of the class, and as the class monitor, she naturally hoped not to lose to other classes. Since Zhou Heng wanted to go together, that was of course the best thing. She was already very happy to be able to go out with Zhou Heng. One was her best friend now, and the other was her boyfriend. Going shopping together, she couldn't believe how cheerful a little girl she would be that day. Of course, that's great. Are you willing to go? Because it's finally the weekend and you can rest. I thought you want to play games properly, so I didn't dare to invite you. Yin Mingran had witnessed the kind of happiness Zhou Heng experienced when playing games. Making him happy was naturally Imungran's wish, so she didn't dare invite Zhou Heng to go out, fearing he wouldn't want to, and she couldn't bear to sacrifice his precious game time. It's okay. I can play games anytime. And now. Zhou Heng paused, turned his head to the other side, then slowly spoke in a low voice. Now, I feel. You're much more important than games. Imungran instantly lowered her head, her cheeks flushing red in a flash, her heartbeat suddenly accelerating. The hand holding Zhou Heng's was trembling slightly. This sentence completely struck Imungran's heart, making her utterly smitten. Imungran knew how important games were in Zhou Heng's heart. When he played games, he was like a different person, visibly happy. But now Zhou Heng said she was much more important than games. Didn't that mean she could be considered the most important thing in Zhou Heng's heart? When the person you like gives up their passion for you, that feeling of being chosen is truly heart-fluttering. Now, Imungran had only one thought in her mind, and that was I like Zhou Heng. Like him an incredible amount. Imungran suddenly stopped, pulling Zhou Heng. Zhou Heng paused, standing still, looking at Imungran beside him with a bewildered expression, not knowing what was wrong with her. The next second, Imungran turned sideways, stood on her tiptoes, leaned closer to Zhou Heng, and placed a gentle kiss on his cheek, like a dragonfly skimming the water, a touch, and then gone. Then Imungran lowered her head, not daring to look at Zhou Heng's reaction. This was an extremely bold attempt, solely because she couldn't suppress her feelings of affection for Zhou Heng. At that moment, Zhou Heng was completely stunned, unable to react at all. He was still in a daze, his mind seemingly short-circuited. All this happened too suddenly, leaving him no mental preparation. He only knew that his heart was stirring. Let's go. Imungran pulled Zhou Heng's hand and continued walking, trying to cover up what had just happened. Because Zhou Heng had no reaction, she didn't know what he was thinking, so she could only pretend nothing had happened. Zhou Heng reached out and touched his cheek. Because the kiss was so incredibly gentle, he couldn't even recall what it felt like. After returning home, Zhou Heng went into the kitchen to prepare dinner. While cooking, he was still thinking about what happened on the way back. When can it happen again? This was his current thought, like Zhu Beiji after eating the ginseng fruit, already unable to stop himself. If only he could have known in advance, he wouldn't have been so. He should have given Imungran some response then, otherwise what would that be? Meanwhile, Imungran was sitting on the sofa outside, hugging a doll, also thinking about what had just happened. Her bold action made her heart race with heat as well. She was also thinking, when could she be brave again? Kissing him once made Zhou Heng react so strongly. She didn't know if kissing him frequently would make Zhou Heng dislike it. She turned her head, looking at Zhou Heng in the kitchen, the corners of her mouth unconsciously turning up. She had found the person who made her smile just by thinking about or seeing him. After dinner, the two began to study. While Imungran taught Zhou Heng, she was also studying herself. She now had more. The closest person, the person she liked most, her best friend. So, her study state was also better. They studied until midnight, then took turns showering and returned to the bedroom. The time they both looked forward to the most was probably now. This was when they were closest. Turning off the light. After turning off the light, they lay in bed, covered with blankets, staring at the ceiling, neither closing their eyes. They both wanted to hold each other to sleep like last night, but neither spoke first. It wasn't that they hoped the other would speak, but simply felt they should prepare themselves mentally first. After about 10 minutes, they almost simultaneously turned over, lying on their sides, facing each other. It was just that in the darkness, they couldn't see each other's cheeks clearly, but they could clearly feel the other's warm breath, softly brushing against their cheeks. Zhou Heng wanted to say something, but the words didn't come out. Imungran, however, extended her hand and said in a particularly soft and alluring voice, "Cuddle." This sound instantly moved Zhou Heng's heart, causing his inner emotions to erupt. Zhou Heng reached out his arms, pulled Imungran into his embrace, and held her tightly, feeling her warmth. Imungran's body also kept snuggling into Zhou Heng's embrace, her head buried in his chest. She didn't feel uncomfortable at all. On the contrary, she enjoyed this feeling very much. This feeling quickly lulled her into a dream, even though she really wanted to experience this sensation while awake. Feeling Imungran fall asleep, Zhou Heng slightly loosened his arms, afraid she might be uncomfortable. He hesitated for a moment, then lowered his head and planted a kiss on Imungran's forehead. "Let me be cutting this once. Next time, it will definitely be when you're awake. Good night." A week passed quickly. Zhou Heng and Min Gran lived the same way every day, but they never felt bored. The time they looked forward to the most was when they went to sleep at night. They could embrace each other and sleep, and the sense of security the other person provided allowed them to fall asleep quickly. This morning, Min Gran opened her eyes first. She lay in Zhou Heng's arms, held by him, feeling his warmth. She saw that Zhou Heng was not yet awake, so she didn't plan to get up right away. It was the weekend, so Zhou Heng could sleep a little longer. This week of school life had already made Zhou Heng very tired. He studied almost until late every night, and he worked hard at school as well. Although Min Gran intentionally tried to share Zhou Heng's pressure, studying was something one had to rely on oneself for. She blinked her large eyes, looking at Zhou Heng's sleeping face. Even though they had been together for a few days, her heart couldn't help but feel joyful. As Min Gran's gaze moved downwards, she focused on Zhou Heng's body. Seeing his chest and abdomen rising and falling, she became pensive. She had always wanted to express something to Zhou Heng, but she had never found an opportunity. She absolutely loved Zhou Heng's strong muscles. Zhou Heng slowly opened his eyes and found Min Gran in his arms, staring intently at his body. Seeing that fervent gaze, Zhou Heng felt a little embarrassed. She seemed to have been staring at his muscles the whole time. Although that wasn't the purpose of his workouts, being liked by his girlfriend was certainly the best outcome, a pleasant surprise. But today was the weekend. Weren't they supposed to go out? Thinking of this, Zhou Heng promptly opened his eyes and moved his body slightly to let Min Gran know he was awake. After Min Gran felt Zhou Heng's movement, she looked up at Zhou Heng's face, smiled faintly, and said softly, "Good morning." "Morning. Did you just wake up?" I've been awake for a while." "Then let's get up. We're going out today, right?" Min Gran had been looking forward to going out with Zhou Heng for a whole week. Staying at home with Zhou Heng all day was good, but going shopping together was also excellent. The two got out of bed, washed up, and had breakfast. Then Min Gran sent a message to Tang Ji, asking when she would be leaving. Tang Ji quickly replied, "I'm almost at your place. I guess you guys should be ready by now." Buzz. Just then, Min Gran's phone suddenly vibrated. She glanced at the notification and found it was a message from Zhou Heng, who was right beside her. It was a transfer message. Zhou Heng had transferred 2,000 yuan to her without any explanation. "This is..." Min Gran looked up at Zhou Heng beside her, her face full of surprise, asking with some confusion. Zhou Heng replied softly, "Aren't we buying clothes today? Buy a few more pieces." He looked at the clothing Min Gran was wearing. They were the same ones she wore last weekend. He knew Min Gran didn't have many clothes. This outfit was bought the day after she came to his house. Although he himself didn't have many clothes either, he was a boy and couldn't buy that many. Compared to other girls, Min Gran indeed had too few clothes. He didn't want Min Gran to live worse than other girls. No. I can't accept it. I have my own money. And last time, I didn't even spend the money Mom gave me." Min Gran quickly waved her hands, refusing. She definitely couldn't accept so much money. She could also feel Zhou Heng's thoughtfulness, and that was enough. Zhou Heng had also guessed that Min Gran would definitely refuse. However, since he had already decided to transfer it to Min Gran, he certainly wouldn't let her refuse. "Take it. I want to see you wear more beautiful clothes." Zhou Heng's words made Min Gran's hand, which was about to return the transfer, pause. She really didn't want to accept this money. She had already received so much. She couldn't just take, right? Spending so much of Zhou Heng's money, she felt really embarrassed. But what Zhou Heng said made her hesitate. The only reason she could accept this money was for Zhou Heng to be able to wear more beautiful clothes, and for her favorite boyfriend to see. This really made it impossible for her to refuse. After hesitating for a moment, Min Gran chose to accept the money. She comforted herself that accepting it didn't mean she had to spend it all. Besides, she couldn't possibly only buy clothes for herself. "Then, I'll buy you some clothes too. What kind of clothes do you like to wear?" "I'm fine with anything. I don't really have any clothes I particularly like to wear." Zhou Heng looked down at the clothes he was wearing. There was nothing special about them. His clothes were all rather simple in style. He didn't really care what he wore. Most of the time he was in his school uniform. On weekends, he would stay home and play games, not go out. When he wasn't gaming, he was working out, so most of his clothes were loose and comfortable like tank tops. Min Gran took Zhou Heng's hand and said, "Then let's pick some out together today." Zhou Heng looked at her face and smiled slightly. Okay. Min Gran had always kept a mental count of how many times Zhou Heng had smiled, because she desperately wanted to see him smile, and every time she saw it, her heart would flutter. The first time was when Zhou Heng was playing a game. The second was when Zhou Heng's monthly exam results came out. And after they got together, Min Gran had already seen it more than a dozen times. To her, being able to make Zhou Heng break into a smile was something incredibly meaningful. Knock, knock. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. They both looked up at the same time, knowing it must be Tang Ji. Min Gran quickly got up to open the door. Standing at the doorway was, indeed, Tang Ji. Sorry to keep you waiting. Tang Ji didn't come in. Zhou Heng and Min Gran walked out together, and the three of them left the apartment. Walking down the street, Zhou Heng and Min Gran very naturally held each other's hands. They had walked like this to and from school all week and were now completely at ease holding hands. It was the first time Tang Ji had seen it, though. Walking behind them and looking at their joined hands, she nodded and sighed. Growing up, this is the first time I've ever seen Zhou Heng in a relationship. It's so novel. Giggle. Min Gran covered her mouth and let out a light laugh. Zhou Heng, however, looked embarrassed. He knew he had changed a lot, and Tang Ji could see all of it. It would probably become a topic for her to tease him about. Ahem, when will we get to see you in a relationship? That might be even more novel. Zhou Heng retorted with the same topic. To be honest, he was also quite curious about what kind of person would end up with Tang Ji. He felt that anyone who could be with Tang Ji would definitely not be an ordinary person. Being good at studies would certainly be the most useless trait. They'd have to be stronger than her in other aspects, or she would definitely look down on them. Tang Ji waved her hand dismissively. That's a day you'll never see. Imran's eyes widened in surprise. She looked at Tang Ji and asked, You don't plan on being in a relationship? Yeah, I'm not interested. Not dating and not getting married isn't against the law. I'm not lacking anything myself. Anything a boyfriend can give me, I can give to myself. Times are different now. Not everyone has to get married and have children. Anyway, my family respects my decision. At least when I said I wouldn't date or get married, my dad was all for it. Zhou Heng hadn't expected Tang Ji to be so absolute, but it did sound like something she would say. True, my uncle probably can't stand the thought of you dating, right? You do have a point. Zhou Heng's words made Imran's heart tremble. She knew Tang Ji was right, but her own feelings were the complete opposite of Tang Ji's. After falling for Zhou Heng, she desperately wanted to be in a relationship, to be with him, to marry him, to spend a lifetime with him. Perhaps it was because of her special circumstances now. She no longer had such grand ambitions. After all, there was a time she didn't even want to live. Now, it wasn't that she wanted Zhou Heng to give her anything. She simply wanted to be by his side. That was enough. It was the only reason her life was now filled with hope. In other words, more than 90% of her life was now lived for Zhou Heng. If Zhou Heng were to abandon her now, the only thing she'd have left would probably be to live for her deceased parents. She herself would have no reason to live. Now that Zhou Heng agreed with Tang Ji's point of view, could it make him change his mind and leave her? Just as Min Gran was worrying, Zhou Heng suddenly lifted their joined hands and squeezed a little tighter. But my way of thinking is a bit different from yours now. I think it's pretty nice to have someone you like by your side. Zhou Heng looked into Imran's eyes, a gentle smile blooming on his lips. Min Gran froze instantly. She could feel her heart about to leap out of her chest. All her worries vanished into thin air. That one sentence from Zhou Heng was enough to dispel all those fears and give her a complete sense of security. After a few seconds of stunned silence, Tang Ji chuckled. All right, stop being so lovey-dovey. I get it, you two are great together. Zhou Heng continued to lead Min Gran forward. Min Gran lowered her head and said in a small voice, I'll always be with you. This was a promise she would absolutely keep, and it could also be called her hope, without a doubt. Zhou Heng nodded lightly and responded with a Then their held hands became intertwined, fingers locked, gripping each other tightly. Although they appeared very calm on the surface, their hearts were in turmoil. It was only because Tang Ji was there that they couldn't just ignore everything else, so they suppressed their inner emotions. The three of them arrived at the mall in the city center. It was the weekend, and the place was crowded and lively. When they reached the clothing floor, it was mostly filled with girls, almost all of them out shopping on the weekend. Tang Ji led Min Gran through every shop, with Zhou Heng following behind. He seemed to serve a supportive role, but at the same time, it felt like he didn't. He just thought that as long as Min Gran and Tang Ji were happy, he didn't mind. I'll go buy you guys some drinks. You two take your time. Call me if you need anything. Zhou Heng found something for himself to do. Otherwise, just following them everywhere made him feel like he had no presence. After Zhou Heng left, Min Gran gazed at his departing figure, lost in thought. She wanted to be by Zhou Heng's side all the time, but Tang Ji was still there. She couldn't just ignore her. She could have time alone with Zhou Heng at home, but since they were out today, she felt she should pay more attention to Tangji. She knew Zhou Heng would understand and wouldn't get angry over it. Zhou Heng arrived at a drink bar, ready to buy beverages for the two girls. He stood at the back of the line. There were 3 or 4 people ahead of him, so it wouldn't be long. Just then, he heard the sound of chatter from behind him, getting closer and closer, and the voice was so familiar. Aya, stop messing around. Really? The next second, the person behind him bumped into Zhou Heng, seemingly by accident while they were playing around. I'm sorry. Zhou Heng slowly turned his head. Seeing the person in front of him, he couldn't help but frown. He hadn't misheard. That voice was all too familiar to him. He hadn't expected to run into Tong Yining here. What an unfortunate fact. Perhaps he should have guessed. After all, Tong Yining went out almost every weekend, and this was the most crowded place on weekends. It was highly possible to run into her here. When Tong Yining saw who she had bumped into, her mouth fell open in surprise. Zhou Heng, why are you? Before Tong Yining could finish, her eyes suddenly darted to the side of Zhou Heng, as if looking for someone. But she didn't see that familiar figure. Zhou Heng merely glanced at her before preparing to leave. He could buy drinks anywhere. He didn't have to buy them here. Seeing Zhou Heng leave, Tong Yining, as if possessed, hurried after him. Because Yin Mingren wasn't by Zhou Heng's side right now. If she wanted to say something to him, this was the best opportunity. Zhou Heng walked ahead, and Tong Yining followed a few steps behind, calling out, Zhou Heng, I want to say a few words to you, can I? It'll just take a little bit of your time. Zhou Heng ignored her words and kept walking forward, his pace quickening, making it very difficult for Tong Yining to keep up. But Tong Yining clearly had no intention of giving up such a rare opportunity. She pursued him relentlessly. Along the way, many people turned to look at the two of them, seeing what looked like a couple having a fight. I'm begging you, just a few words. There are some things I really have to say to you. For the sake of us being classmates, just give me one chance. Besides, I only rejected your confession. It's not like I did something to wrong you. Why are you being so distant with me? No matter what, we've known each other for so many years, haven't we? Back in middle school, when no one would talk to you, wasn't I the one who talked to you? How can you now? After Tong Yining said this, Zhou Heng suddenly stopped in his tracks, startling her into stopping as well. She kept a small distance from him, as if afraid he would get angry. But Zhou Heng simply turned around slowly, his expression calm, without any trace of anger. He said flatly, Fine, go ahead. What made him change his mind was that very sentence from Tong Yining. No matter what, Tong Yining had helped him in middle school. He had been like Tangji back then, with no friends, quiet, and no one to hang out with. It was Tong Yining who had stepped forward, taken the initiative to talk to him, to hang out with him. So, putting all other factors aside, he would listen to what she had to say as a way of repaying her for her past kindness. Tong Yining clearly hadn't expected Zhou Heng to suddenly change his mind. She froze for a moment, her mouth opening and closing without a word coming out. What? Weren't you going to say something? Are you going to say it or not? Zhou Heng asked nonchalantly, crossing his arms. Yes. Tong Yining collected her thoughts, took a deep breath, and began, Are you really together with Yin Mingran? Yes. A lot of people in class know, right? How could you not know? Zhou Heng answered her directly. All week, they had hardly done anything sneakily in the classroom. It was all out in the open. While none of it was excessive, it was enough for others to see that they were together. Tong Yining lowered her head and responded in a small voice, I know. I just wanted to hear you admit it yourself. What else do you want to say? Say it all at once. Tong Yining was silent for a few seconds, as if hesitating whether she should say it. She thought that this chance would probably never come again, so she had to ask, How could you change your mind so quickly? Didn't you, like me before? How could you fall for Yin Mingran in such a short time? Zhou Heng frowned slightly, seemingly not expecting Tong Yining to ask such a question. Indeed, from her perspective, his feelings had changed very quickly. Just a few days ago, he was desperately pursuing her, and then about 10 days later, he turned around and got together with Yin Mingran. It was normal for her to be confused. Zhou Heng sighed and replied, There's only one explanation that makes sense. I never actually liked you. It must have been your kindness to me back then that led me to mistake it for liking you. But in reality, that wasn't the feeling of like at all, which is why I was able to give up so decisively. It was my fault. I should have given up long ago. The only reason I held on for so long was probably because I'm too stubborn. Hearing Zhou Heng's answer, Tong Yining's face instantly paled, the color draining from it. A look of deep disappointment flashed in her eyes. I shouldn't have asked this question. It would have been better to never know the answer. Tong Yining laughed self-deprecatingly and shook her head. What she found most painful was Zhou Heng saying he never liked her, while she was now starting to like him a little. What kind of dramatic turn was this? Couldn't she have had this feeling a little sooner? If she had, she could have just accepted Zhou Heng's pursuit. Even if he didn't really like her, she could have worked hard to make him slowly fall for her. Feelings could be cultivated. Getting together first and developing feelings later. Wouldn't that have been fine too? But the reality was, she had no idea how Yin Mingran did it. But without any warning, she had skipped all the steps and inserted herself directly into Zhou Heng's life. In 4 or 5 years, she hadn't managed to make Zhou Heng truly like her. Yet Yin Mingran had gotten together with him in such a short time. Is that all you wanted to say? If so, then goodbye. I remember your kindness to me in middle school, and I paid it back during high school. You were the one who didn't want to talk to me in the end. Otherwise, we wouldn't have even failed to be friends. I'm not that pathetic, so let's not have any more contact. Let's just leave it at that. Zhou Heng laid out all his thoughts. He wasn't a heartless person, but one disappointment after another had made him not want to continue like this. Then Yin Mingran appeared in his life, which gave him even more confidence to sever his old attachments and start a new life. After speaking, Zhou Heng turned to leave. He'd done all he could. As for whether Tong Yining accepted it, that was up to her. Seeing Zhou Heng about to leave, Tong Yining subconsciously took a step to chase after him. Wait! Just as she was about to catch up to Zhou Heng and touch him, a voice suddenly came from the side. Honey, so this is where you were. Zhou Heng and Tong Yining both froze. Before Zhou Heng could react, a figure rushed into his arms and hugged him. The familiar, fresh scent instantly told him who it was. Zhou Heng looked down. He looked at Yin Mingran's arms and didn't recognize her at first because she was wearing a new outfit, a pink, off-the-shoulder chiffon short dress with an elegant waistline design. The bow at her waist was cute and charming, and layers of lace adorned the beautiful skirt, exuding a playful and youthful aura. Tong Yining took a step back, murmuring, Yin Mingran. Tong Yining looked Yin Mingran up and down and couldn't help but marvel inwardly. She's so beautiful. No wonder Zhou Heng fell for her so quickly. Even I have to admit, I'm far inferior to Yin Mingran. That beautiful and elegant aura she has is something I couldn't even pretend to have. Tong Yining had thought Zhou Heng was here alone, which was why she had been so bold, wanting to chase after him. But she hadn't expected Yin Mingran to be here too. No matter what, Yin Mingran was the rightful girlfriend now. She had every right to tell her to stay away from Zhou Heng. And since she was harassing Zhou Heng, Yin Mingran would surely not look at her kindly. Her once best friend would probably give her the cold shoulder again. That honey must have been for her benefit, right? It was clearly a declaration of her claim. How intimate. Hearing it felt like a needle pricking her heart. After a moment of stunned silence, Zhou Heng's heart leaped in alarm. He realized Tong Yining was still behind him. Would Yin Mingran misunderstand? What if she thought he had snuck away to be with Tong Yining? What should he do? How would he explain? Should he ask them all to pull the security footage? Fat chance they'd do that for him. He'd only been with Yin Mingran for a few days. If he made her angry, how was he supposed to coax her? He had no experience in this area. If he failed to coax her, wouldn't they break up? If they broke up because of this, he would probably get depressed, right? I was going to buy water, and then I ran into her. I was just about to go somewhere else to buy it, and then she chased after me, saying, Zhou Heng explained frantically, starting to ramble, as if afraid of leaving out any detail, needing to make his innocence perfectly clear. But halfway through Zhou Heng's explanation, Yin Mingran suddenly reached out and gently pressed a finger to his lips. Zhou Heng paused, looking at Yin Mingran in bewilderment. His heart was pounding, nearly leaping into his throat, because he was terrified that Yin Mingran would be angry with him, that she would break up with him. However, Yin Mingran just showed a faint smile and said softly, Then let's go buy some together, and then we'll go pick out some clothes for you. Tang Ji is still waiting for us. Let's go. Then, Yin Mingran linked her arm with Zhou Heng's, ready to leave with him. Before they left, Yin Mingran turned her head and looked at Tong Yining. Hello. What a coincidence running into you here. Well, goodbye. A simple greeting, expressing politeness, and nothing more. No other emotion. After saying this, Yin Mingran led Zhou Heng away. Tong Yining stood rooted to the spot, motionless, as if in a daze, staring at the backs of the two people in front of her. She had thought Yin Mingran would surely be hostile, but just now, it seemed like she hadn't treated her as an enemy at all. It was as if she was just an ordinary classmate she'd run into, greeting her politely, and then that was it. She's not going to yell at me? She's not going to come at me? She remembered how before, just bumping into her had elicited a look that said she wanted to kill her. Is this the poise of Victor? I really can't compare to that kind of confidence. Tong Yining sighed, leaning against a nearby railing. She looked up at the ceiling. This simple encounter had shown her just how vast the gap between her and Yin Mingran was. Really, she couldn't compare in studies, in looks, and now, not even in personality. What hope did she have left? Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran went to another bubble tea shop to buy drinks. While they waited, Zhou Heng was silent, looking at Yin Mingran beside him. Although she wore a faint smile, he felt that there were other emotions hidden within it. You really don't need me to explain anything? She and I, we did talk for a bit. Don't you need me to tell you about it? Zhou Heng asked in a small voice, probing, because he wasn't sure what Yi Mingran's state of mind was. Was she secretly angry? Or did she really not care? Actually, Zhou Heng felt that it would be fine even if Yin Mingran was angry at him. He could apologize, he could explain, but her being silent, the silent treatment, was the scariest. He would have no idea what to do, and his head would probably go numb trying to figure it out. Yin Mingran closed her eyes, shook her head gently, and said, "No need. I trust you." Hearing these words, Zhou Heng was deeply moved. Being trusted so much by his girlfriend felt great, but at the same time, he was puzzled. No matter how you looked at it, he wasn't with Yin Mingran, but was instead with Tong Yining. Anyone would be angry in that situation, but Yin Mingran wasn't angry. Could it be that she didn't care what happened between him and Tong Yining? Looking somewhat unwilling to let it go, Zhou Heng asked again, then, "You're not angry?" "No, I told you. I'll never get angry at you. It's just..." "Just what?" Zhou Heng heard the shift in her tone and quickly pressed on. He saw Yin Mingran lower her head, her voice very soft as she mumbled, "It's just, I feel a little down. Just a tiny, tiny bit. I know it has nothing to do with you, but I just don't want to see Tong Yining getting close to you. I'm being too willful. I'm sorry. Don't take it to heart." Zhou Heng pressed his lips together, looking at Yin Mingran. His feelings were complex. He hadn't been wrong. Yin Mingran was indeed hiding her emotions. If he hadn't pressed her, she might have kept them hidden in her heart. But her saying it out loud made Zhou Heng feel much better. It let him know just how much Yin Mingran cared about him. The next second, Zhou Heng reached out his arms and pulled Yin Mingran into a hug. Yin Mingran stiffened for a moment. Then her expression turned aggrieved, as if Zhou Heng's embrace was about to make her lose control of her suppressed emotions. Her nose tingled, and she really wanted to cry in his arms, but she knew she shouldn't. It was such a small thing, not worth crying over. It would make Zhou Heng think she was a very weak girl. Yin Mingran hadn't dared to say it first, putting on an uncaring front because she didn't want to make Zhou Heng unhappy. It wasn't really his fault, after all. If she acted upset, Zhou Heng might think she was being unreasonable. Just then, Zhou Heng spoke softly in her ear then, "Please be a little more willful like this in the future. I like it a lot." Yin Mingran froze for a few seconds, then let out a soft sound, burying her head in Zhou Heng's chest. She murmured, "If saying things like that again, I won't be able to stop myself from crying." From the very beginning, when she met Zhou Heng and stayed at his house, she felt he was too good to her, not like a normal classmate. But she hadn't refused it, accepting his kindness while trying her best to repay him. But slowly, she discovered that no matter how she tried to repay him, Zhou Heng would always be even better to her, as if there was no limit. I'm just telling the truth. Don't cry." Hearing the word crying, Zhou Heng panicked a little. They were in public, after all. If he made his girlfriend cry, he could never forgive himself, even though he knew she wasn't crying out of sadness. Yin Mingran was amused by Zhou Heng's flustered state. She let out a snort and covered her mouth, giggling. "It's okay, I won't cry. I won't cry so easily from now on." She held back the urge to cry. She was trying hard to change her personality, to make herself stronger. It wasn't something that could be done overnight, so she had to take it slow, starting with small things like this, not being so weak. Yin Mingran looked up at their surroundings and noticed that people nearby were watching them, smiling as if enjoying a show. This made her immediately lower her head in embarrassment. This was the first time she had been so intimate with Zhou Heng in front of so many people. Before, it was only when they were alone at home. They had never done anything like this at school. But she didn't think it was a bad thing. What was wrong with letting others see how good their relationship was? Zhou Heng and Yin Mingran bought their drinks and prepared to go back to find Tang Ji. She had just bought her clothes, and Tang Ji had told her to just wear them out. Then she started to feel something was off. Zhou Heng had been gone for too long. She got a little worried and went out to look for him alone. That's when she saw the scene. Zhou Heng walking in front, with Tong Ening chasing relentlessly behind him. Without a second thought, she ran over. This outfit, is it? Okay. Zhou Heng turned to look at Yin Mingran and her clothes. When Yin Mingran had thrown herself into his arms, he hadn't reacted for a moment, precisely because she was wearing new clothes. He had to say, Zhou Heng thought the outfit was great. At least it suited Yin Mingran perfectly. He found himself stealing several extra glances. It's very nice. It looks especially good on you. Zhou Heng nodded in reply. He wasn't exaggerating at all, just speaking his honest thoughts. And that simple, honest truth was enough to make Yin Mingran happy for a long time. A smile spread across her face as she said softly, That's good. The two arrived at another clothing store, where Tang Ji was waiting for them. Seeing them return, she stood up and asked, What took you so long? Did something happen? Her intuition was very sharp. Just by looking at their states, she could sense that something must have happened. Zhou Heng briefly explained the situation. When Tang Ji heard that they had run into Tong Yining there, she couldn't help but frown. How can we run into her here too? Is she stalking you? I don't think so, Zhou Heng said, looking at himself in surprise. He shouldn't have any listening devices on him, or anything. She wouldn't be that crazy, would she? It's fine. It was just a coincidence, it's normal. At this moment, Yin Mingran spoke up from the side, causing Tang Ji to look at her with a face full of disbelief. You don't care? She's pestering Zhou Heng. It's definitely not for any good reason. You trust her that much. Yin Mingran linked her arm with Zhou Heng's, gazed at his profile, and said softly, I don't trust her. I trust my boyfriend. Zhou Heng paused for a moment. Then they both broke into a smile, looking at each other. Tang Ji sighed helplessly, muttering, You two lovebirds are really torturing me. She reached out and gave Zhou Heng a push. All right, hurry up and try on some clothes. I have to try them on too. Maybe we should just forget it. I think buying online is fine. I'm bad at picking clothes. Zhou Heng was pushed forward. Though he was supposed to pick out and try on clothes himself, just looking at all the options in front of him made his head spin. He thought they all looked the same. Any of them would do. Then you pick for him. Me. Tang Ji's other hand grabbed Yin Mingran's wrist, pulling her forward to stand with Zhou Heng. The two looked at each other, a hint of hesitation in their eyes. Zhou Heng was a bit embarrassed. Although Yin Mingran could help him pick clothes, she didn't know if he would like what she chose. You help me choose. I really don't know how. Okay. Having gotten Zhou Heng's approval, Yin Mingran stepped forward to look for clothes he could wear. She started to recall what types of clothes Zhou Heng usually wore at home, so she could pick a similar style. With Zhou Heng's build, he wasn't really suited for overly tight clothes. His physique was already good enough. Wearing form-fitting clothes would look a bit strange. So Yin Mingran thought Zhou Heng was better suited for looser clothes, which would also be more comfortable. After browsing for a while, Yin Mingran selected a few suitable items in darker colors and with a moderately loose fit. Try these on first. If you don't like them, we can check another store. Yin Mingran handed the clothes to Zhou Heng and pointed to the side, at the fitting room, motioning for him to go try them on there. Zhou Heng nodded and took the clothes to the fitting room. This was his first time trying on clothes in a store. Most of his clothes were bought online or brought to him by his mother, and he never tried them on. He didn't care if they fit perfectly. As long as they didn't fall off, it was basically okay. When he stepped into the small fitting room, it felt quite new to him. There was only a thick curtain for cover. The space was very small, but his frame was not. Two people could barely stand inside, but if they did, there would be almost no room to move. In front was a large mirror and a rack for hanging clothes. Zhou Heng looked at the clothes in front of him, not knowing which one to try first. He decided to take off the clothes he was wearing first. I'll try the pants first. While Zhou Heng was in the fitting room, Yin Mingran and Tang Ji sat outside waiting. Yin Mingran had already imagined what Zhou Heng would look like in the new clothes. She had picked them all based on how she had pictured they would look on him. She wasn't sure if he himself would like them, but she knew she would definitely like seeing him in them. Tang Ji patted Yin Mingran's hand and said softly, Let's keep this one for casual wear. In a bit, we'll go pick out something for you to wear for the sports meet. It's 2 days, so we need to pick at least 2 outfits. That's no problem. Just don't pick anything too weird. I won't be able to wear it then. What are you thinking? Will there be weird clothes? Of course, I just want to pick nice clothes for you. Tang Ji gently reassured Yin Mingran, telling her not to worry. She wasn't trying to prank her, so why worry about weird clothes? Are you guys out there? Just then, Zhou Heng's voice came from inside the fitting room. Hearing his voice, Yin Mingran quickly stood up and asked, What's wrong? Do the clothes not fit? That's not it. It's just I don't know how to match them. Zhou Heng's voice was helpless and a little embarrassed. The shirts and pants he had brought in were all mixed up. He had no idea which shirt went with which pair of pants. If he were the wrong combination, how embarrassing would that be when he came out? And these were clothes Mingran had picked for him. Wouldn't that mean his taste was much worse than hers? So he wanted to ask her which shirt was meant to be paired with which pants. After he put them on, they all felt kind of the same to him. Matching? I forgot to separate them for you. Well, how about you bring them out first? Mingran stood at the entrance of the fitting room and said in a low voice. Suddenly, Tang Ji appeared behind Mingran out of nowhere. She suddenly reached out and gave Mingran a push on the back. What are you afraid of? Just go in and help him. Mingran cried out, stumbling forward. She had no time to react and went straight through the curtain, rushing into the fitting room. Her body only stopped when it bumped into something. She subconsciously put her hands out in front of her to keep from falling. Mingran, still shaken, slowly raised her head and looked at the scene before her. It seemed she had just bumped into Zhou Heng's body, and now her hands were resting on Zhou Heng's chest. The most crucial part was, Zhou Heng was currently shirtless. The body of Zhou Heng that she had dreamed of seeing again, day and night, was now right in front of her, within arm's reach. Her hands were in direct contact with Zhou Heng's body, placed on his firm, well-built chest. After 0.01 seconds, without even thinking, Mingran involuntarily gave a light squeeze. Then, she quickly withdrew her hands, straightened up, and tried to step back, but found the space was too small to retreat any further. She and Zhou Heng could only stand face to face, with only a fist distance between them. I didn't do it on purpose. Mingran raised her hands to cover her eyes, but she had actually left a small crack for herself to peek through. This kind of opportunity didn't come often. Although she had been startled, right now she just wanted to say thank you to Tang Ji. Not looking was politeness. Peeking was instinct. Zhou Heng was just a little embarrassed. Standing shirtless in front of Mingran inevitably made him a bit shy, but then he thought that Mingran was his girlfriend, not some stranger, so it was no big deal. And he also remembered that morning, when Mingran had touched him for 10 minutes. So Zhou Heng figured she probably liked his physique, right? He used to worry that Mingran wouldn't like a body like his. After all, a little fitness attracts the opposite sex. Too much fitness attracts the same sex. If he was too muscular, girls might not like it as much. And his physique was probably in the upper middle range, not ridiculously built, but already a champion among his peers. From the looks of it now, Mingran was probably the type who liked muscular guys. In that case, he had even less to be embarrassed about. In fact, he kind of hoped Mingran would look. Having a body that could attract his girlfriend was a good thing. It's okay, you don't have to be so formal with me. It doesn't matter. I'm a guy. Am I supposed to be afraid of being looked at? Hearing this, Mingran gently bit her lip and asked hesitantly, then, I can look, right? Of course you can. You're my girlfriend. What can't you look at? Then, having received permission, Mingran slowly lowered her hands, taking in the full sight of Zhou Heng's physique before her. Gulp, her throat moved, and the next second, her face turned red at a visible speed, as if it were about to cook. She remembered that this morning, she had touched him through his clothes. Now a shirtless version was right in front of her, but she could only look, not touch. If she just reached out and touched him without saying anything, Zhou Heng might think she was a pervert. And right now, it didn't seem like the right time for that. Although Zhou Heng didn't mind being looked at, the two of them squeezed into the fitting room was a little strange, especially since the space was so small and quite hot. He was about to start sweating, and being so close to Mingran while sweaty wasn't good, Zhou Heng thought. So he prepared to pull back the curtain. Maybe you should go out first. I'm afraid I'll crowd you. I'll take the clothes out, you can help me match them, and then I'll bring them back in. Mingran also knew it wasn't right for her to stay in here. Zhou Heng couldn't change his clothes. Even though she hadn't seen enough, the thought that there would be plenty of opportunities in the future meant she didn't have to look here. Just as she nodded in agreement, she suddenly heard the voices of other young women from outside the fitting room. Excuse me, do you have this in a larger size? Zhou Heng was about to pull the curtain open to let Mingran out, but the next second, Mingran reached out and stopped him. Wait! Zhou Heng jumped, quickly pulling his hand back. He blinked and asked, Well, what's wrong? Mingran looked like she wanted to say something, but couldn't. Then she pointed at Zhou Heng's body and said in a whisper, There are people outside. Wait a bit before going out. If you open it now, they'll see. I don't want other people to see.